This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is a Fast Break Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, as always, is Ricky Widmer.
What's up, guys?
And Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
We got a great Fast Break Podcast for you today. We're talking about the second best team in the Western Conference.
The Nuggets?
Possibly.
I mean, on the standings.
Possibly.
Standings are number two.
But also, they're not the team that we are placing at number one right now. We don't want to be asking another topic, as Ladyboy Lover said about our Cam Reddish topic that we did last week. Of course, Cam's being overshadowed. He's the third best player on Duke. Well, then is he being overshadowed if he's properly ranked? That's the question. But we are going to be talking about the team behind the Golden State Warriors, who we think is the best, because although they're not number one in the standings, we do think they are the best team
right
in the heart and in the league when you look at it from a sensible reason. So we will be talking about who is two behind them, because obviously the Houston Rockets aren't even in the playoff picture right now. And then from that, we're going to go into the NBA draft, the 2019 NBA draft. We're going to be talking about the best point guard prospects after Darius Garland will be out for the remainder of the season. He had foot surgery, so he's going to be done. So that landscape has changed, as Dave put it. And then we're going to wrap it up with 2019 prospect talk for the Phoenix Suns. Currently, they are worse than the Cleveland Cavaliers and all other 28 teams in the NBA. So we'll be talking about them first, and if they do have the number one pick, where they will go, where they should go, what prospects, what positions should they be looking at, which prospects are best fits for them, and we'll be doing all of that. Those are our three main topics, and of course, we will be including Wet Boys, where we talk about guys who absolutely went off in the past week and give them some love. But before we jump into that, one final thing. If you are listening to us on iTunes, if you're listening to us on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening through Blog Talk Radio or Stitcher, please head over to iTunes, look up the Fast Break Podcast, and give us a 5-star rating. Helping us out in that way is free. It's super easy. It's super quick, and it does truly help us get more views and more ears onto this podcast. So we'd greatly appreciate it if you took that time out and gave us that love. But guys, let's jump into the second most dangerous team in the Western Conference. Right now, the Golden State Warriors do sit in fourth place, like I mentioned. They are 15-8, but we all agree, have a consensus agreement, like most NBA viewers, that they are the best team in the Western Conference and in the NBA. But obviously, with the scuffle that Draymond Green and Kevin Durant had, that kind of sidetracked them a bit. And obviously, their most valuable player in Steph Curry has been out with an injury, so that's really hurt their record so far. But when they are full strength, they are the best team in the NBA. So let's ask the question. Who is the second best team in the Western Conference behind the Golden State Warriors? Ricky, I'll go to you first.
I'm sitting between one of two teams, and they are 1 and 2 in the Western Conference. But the team I've got to go with is the one that you were hyping up before the season, Sean. Denver has just impressed me beyond what I thought they would be. And I was kind of talking to Dave when we were out to dinner yesterday after 2-0 the game, where it's like, this team kind of pisses me off in a way.
Nice plug, by the way.
Because it's just, I mean, I'll be honest. When you were like, they're going to be a top 3 team, I didn't want them to be. I don't want this team to dethrone the Warriors, but it's like, I look at them and you look at what they're getting from everyone. Like, they're a team that is right now, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players deep, scoring in double digits. They've got 4 players scoring at least 16 points a game. And if this team can stay healthy, it's going to be important going forward. And I know that Will Barton has only played 2 games, so I mean that 16.5 is like, oh,
and they'll be getting back
2.
soon. Yeah.
But when they get him back, it's like, okay, everything I just said now gets a little bit better. And this team has been kind of avoiding the injury bug a little bit and rolling and beating good teams in the process, because the thing that I want to just say about the Nuggets and the Clippers, yeah, they both beat the Warriors, but the Nuggets did it with all 4 of the main cast minus DeMarcus Cousins. All 4 of the main cast on the floor, where the Clippers did it when Steph was injured.
So obviously, I'll be kind of hyping up the Nuggets a little bit more, but you do throw out the Clippers there, and I don't think Dave's answer is going to be the Clippers. Correct me if I'm wrong. So why are you throwing the Clippers out there? Because I think right now most people are shocked that the Clippers are number 1 in the Western Conference. This is a team with no star at all. I mean, Tobias Harris has been playing fantastic. Gallinari has been pretty good for them.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Montrezl Harrell has been good for them, but there's no bona fide star. There's not an all-star on this team. Why are you saying the Clippers have a shot to be the second best team in the Western Conference?
2 reasons. Number one is they've gotten guys on the team to contribute that I didn't expect to contribute in this way. Like Montrezl Harrell, didn't expect him to have the season that he's having. Did not expect Tobias Harris to kind of be leading this team, kind of taking the mantle and kind of, I say if they don't have him, they're not in this situation.
Certainly.
The thing of question, though, that I have for them and why I went with the Nuggets is you look at like Lou Will and Harold haven't started a game this year. They've been doing all of their damage, the 17, 16 points off of the bench. Then, I mean, I look at their schedule. Yeah, they beat the Bucks. Yeah, they beat the Warriors. But like I said, Warriors without Steph Curry. Both of those games were at home. The thing that they haven't done that the Nuggets have done is I look at their losses. Denver, going to be a playoff team. The Pelicans, going to be a playoff team. Oklahoma City will look to be a playoff team. The Sixers are a playoff team. Portland right now would be a playoff team. And then at Washington, all of those losses, every loss except for Denver, has been on the road. And in the playoffs, I mean, unless they're going to be the number 1 seed, which I don't think they're going to be, the Warriors will get healthy, they'll get DeMarcus Cousins and be the number 1 seed. Unless you're going to be number 1, you're going to have to win on the road. And if you can't do that, you're not going to beat the Warriors in a 7-game series.
Dave, who do you think the second best team in the Western Conference is?
Gonna get called crazy for this, but right now it's OKC. Like, this is a team.
I thought you were going Memphis. So OKC is much better.
Memphis is like
You've been riding that Memphis train all year.
Ricky mentioned 2 teams. But Memphis is like my low-key number 2 team. I ain't going to go there right now because I'm being realistic. Oklahoma City Thunder is a team that underperformed last year, and we were all extremely disappointed with, you know, their attempt at a big 3 didn't work out. Like, obviously the Carmelo Anthony problems were there. But this year, they are doing something special, and they've had injuries on this team as well, and they are just starting to hit their groove. Defensively, they're one of the best teams in the league right now. They lead the league in defensive rating, actually. Offensively, we're getting Schroeder having some great performances, being able to fill in that role as the lead point guard when Russ was out, and now that Russ is there, they have like great two-way play between both of them. Steven Adams really excelling this year, and I think Paul George kind of has been publicly and privately talking to him about like having to take more of a role on this team, and it's it's a noticeable difference out of him. So I think that they are having all of the right pieces contribute, and then the depth they added with Nerlens Noel, Hamidou Diallo, a guy who we're like, he doesn't know how to play basketball, but he's an athlete. Like, he can go out there and ball. It's bizarre, but like they're getting results out of those secondary players, and obviously like it's just weird because Abrines is making it rain out there from the outside. He had a great game last night.
Yeah, 7 threes.
7 threes.
All 21 points all of threes.
And he just Jordan shrugged it off. Like, I was like, oh, that close to home. But no, this is a team where they're getting it done defensively, and that is exactly what you want to see.
Here's the only thing that worries me about the Thunder.
Yeah.
And it's just how their schedule is right now. I look at their losses. In the first 4 to start, the Thunder were still gelling, but also
Russ wasn't there.
Yeah, Russ wasn't there, but Golden State was healthy to start the year. Sacramento was rolling to start the year. Boston was not struggling like they were right now into those 4 games, and the Clippers played pretty well. The other loss that they have, Dallas on the road, another Kings loss on the road, and then the Nuggets, who are the second best team. Every other team, I'm looking like, yeah, they beat the Warriors and Golden State, but I'm going to put that asterisk next to it because the Warriors, and I know people are going to get like pissed off, like, oh, it doesn't matter that Steph wasn't there. It kind of matters that Steph wasn't there because this team is completely different when you're going to have those 4 guys, Draymond, Durant, Curry, and Thompson, and you take any of those away because they're not a deep team in general.
Only beat the team in front of you, you know?
But then I like look at like they're playing the Suns and the Knicks, and the Rockets haven't been that good, and the Cavaliers. So I wonder if right now it's the strength of schedule hasn't been the hardest for the Thunder. And yes, it's good. They're taking care of business now. But what's going to happen later in the year as these better teams, some of them might get injured, but I'm looking more at the Warriors. They get healthy, and then the Thunder have to go up against
Oklahoma City is still not healthy. You still haven't seen Roberson out there playing yet, and he is the best defender on the team and arguably a top 5 in the league. So you have the best defensive team in the league right now, and you're going to get a top 5 defender back. And then you're getting back Terrence Ferguson, who we started to see a little bit of flash of why he was taken as highly as he was a couple of years ago. And again, the depth on this team is, you're starting to see that, which was not existent last year.
And you haven't even mentioned Jeremy Grant as well.
Oh my God, yeah.
A guy
he's taking a huge step.
Yeah, and if you want to read Zach Lowe's article that he just put out, he talks a lot about Jeremy Grant's progression. But they started using him as a big, as a 5 last year, and using his length, his athleticism was damaging. And everyone's always like, well, if he has that shot, if he adds that next dimension to himself, and he has this year, shooting 3 threes a game, and he's shooting 35% from 3. So that's even another piece, that can start for you, that can come off the bench, that can add that other element. And I think the one answer outside of Denver that I would feel comfortable with is OKC. I'm not really looking at the schedule so far too much with all these teams, because you're going to be playing bad teams, you're going to be playing good teams, you're going to be playing hot teams, you're going to be playing cold teams. It's what can you do on a consistent basis, and what they can do on a consistent basis is defend. And we talked about this coming into this season. Now losing Carmelo, you're going to have Roberson coming back. This is going to be the best defensive team in the NBA, and it's not even going to be close. I mean, this team is absolutely shut down, locked down. They could do it at every single position. Their worst defender might be Russ, and he's not a bad defender at all. So I think what they're able to do on the defensive side is going to be tough. And you look at that 1-5 matchup, offensively, I don't know if they're going to be able to keep up with Golden State. Obviously, it's going to rely heavily on Russ and Paul George on what they can do on a night-in, night-out basis, because they're their 1-2 guys, at least offensively. But their 1-5 matchup for Golden State is going to be tough, because you have Paul George who can go up against KD. You have Jeremy Grant who can go up against KD as well. You can have Jeremy Grant go up against Draymond Green, go with that length and that speed to keep up with Draymond Green, even if they go small. And if they're using Boogie, you have Steven Adams, who's one of the best defenders, at least at that 5
the bench needs
position.
to wear a cup out there, that's all.
And then you can throw out Roberson either on Steph or Klay Thompson, and then flip Russ on the other one. And again, Russ isn't going to get burned too often. Obviously, if he's going up against Steph might be able to put it to him back and forth, but Russ is a guy that can trade it with him, and can go on the offensive end and just go back right at Russ. So this is a team that maybe they aren't as good and star-studded as the Golden State Warriors, and they might not have that offensive consistency because they're not playing in a system really. They're more relying on those stars, where Golden State's relying on the system with great stars and great talent. We haven't seen Golden State's full potential with Boogie out there.
Right.
But I look at OKC, and they do something consistently great, and that is play defense. And that's something where you look at Los Angeles, the Clippers right now, I think they're extremely hot. But again, they don't have that star they can rely on offensively.
They're so deep.
Yeah, but so far their system's been really well. I mean, they've been working everybody you're playing every guy's strength so far. I think to cleaning the glass, they're top 10 offense right now in points per possession. But again, I look at what OKC is able to do on a consistent night. They're able to take that defense on the road, at home, and they're able to win games. And I really like them as the third best team. But I look at Denver, and Denver not only has that ability to take what they do best on the road and away, because they are one of the teams with above 500 record away. It's not a crazy thing. It's a crazy thing to say, because you look at the home records right now of the teams in the Eastern Western Conference. Toronto has above 500 record. Indiana has an above 500 record at 7-5. Then you have to go to Los Angeles Clippers. They have a 6-5 record. Denver has a 6-4 record. OKC has a 5-4 record. Memphis has a 6-5 record. And then you go to Utah. They have a 9-6 record. Those are all the teams with an above 500 record away. So they're able to take that home and away, their offensive abilities. And Denver, although I don't think they're going to be able to keep this up as much as they are right now, because currently they're the third best team defensively, which is crazy to think coming into this. I thought they were going to be really good defensively this year.
We're
I thought
expecting
they were going to
the 80s Nuggets, where we're getting the 130, 145 games.
But right now they're third in points per possession allowing, and the difference between offense and defense, they're third behind Milwaukee and Toronto. So they have one of the better offenses when that's fully clicking. They're currently top 10, and they're top 3 in defense. I think that they have that ability to work in a system offensively, but they also can rely on stars. I know Jokic isn't a guy that's consistently putting up 20 a night. He'll have games where he only has 17, but he's a guy that's leading this team in assists. His usage is crazy high. He's top in assist percentage, and he's a big man. And you're playing in that system. You're playing with guys like Gary Harris. You're going to be adding Isaiah Thomas. You're going to be adding back Will Barton. You're getting phenomenal additions from Juan Hernan Gomez, Plumlee off the bench. I look at what they're able to do in a night in, night out basis. And although the star power might be on OKC, you look at what Denver's able to do offensively, and they don't have to be star reliant to be great. They can play within that system to take that on the road and away. And then also defensively, we have seen that massive improvement where, again, OKC's playing on talent and they have fantastic defenders, but you look at what they're able to do. They don't have any great defenders, but they all have really good defenders that stick to their position. They force turnovers, and they're able to turn it the other way, and then, again, play in that system in the full court and half court. And I absolutely love what I'm seeing from Denver.
And the thing I like about Denver more so than I like about the Thunder is that I feel like in a 7-game series against the Warriors, I feel like I would put more confidence in the Nuggets than the Thunder to compete with the Warriors at the 3-point line. I feel like the Nuggets have the better cast of characters to try to go toe-to-toe with the Warriors with made threes and saying, hey, you can shoot the 3-ball? Well, we can shoot the 3-ball as well, and we can make them too.
But what would you say, again, outside of the offensive side of it, why what else about Denver makes you want to say that?
The big thing is I was looking at the, not even just percentages from 3, but just the how many made threes that they make per game. And it's like, on average, you've got Gary Harris and Jamal Murray. They're making about 1.8, 1.5. You've even got Will Barton before he missed out in the 2 games that he was, almost making 3 a game. Even Jokic can make at least 1 3 a game. And it's like, with the Thunder, you got Paul George at 3. You got Dennis Schroeder shooting a nice percentage, 1.5. But then it's like, Russ isn't really a bona fide 3-point shooter. Yes, he can do it. Kind of like, I'm going to compare him on that, and this might be a slap in the face, but I don't mean it that way, that Jokic level of, all right, Jokic is making 1 a game, Russ is averaging 1 made 3 a game, but his 3-point percentage is a 21.7, which is not good in this
they
NBA.
They have 1 3-point shooter on the team, but that's not their game plan. Like, their offense is not predicated on
and
the
that
3-point
is
game.
But that's a big part with the Warriors. However, the one thing with the Nuggets that I question, and this could be the only question that I have with a 7-game series against the Warriors, Kevin Durant. He's the only, talk about defensively, I look at their roster and I go, who's going to defend Kevin Durant?
And here's the thing that I will say about Denver is, even though I said that they were going to be a top 3 team in the Western Conference, that was because we thought Houston was going to be so good. And we'll get to Houston, I think, too, because I don't think we could fully write off any team outside of probably Phoenix this year in the Western Conference.
They're the only team in the Western Conference not in it.
They're a hamstring away. The Rockets. The Rockets are a hamstring away from either being in or out.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, we'll talk about them later. But we're talking about Denver right now. I mean, even though I said they were going to be a top 3 team, I also had them losing in the first round because they were going up against LeBron. They were going up against that star power. I don't think you're going to be able to match up with star power, and I think that's going to be the biggest thing in the playoffs that does kill them. Because right now, I don't think they have that guy that can go into a playoff series and drop 30 a night. And I
was going to ask you, you're getting contributions across the board from 5, 6 different guys on any given night, which is impressive, but when you need that guy to take over a game.
And maybe it's Jamal Murray, but again, I don't think he's at that point in his career yet. Maybe it's Gary Harris, but again, I don't think he's at that point yet. And Jokic has shown it from flashes every now and then. Yeah. But again, he's not a guy that is going to take 20 shots a night. He's not a guy that's overly aggressive on the offensive end, and his usage percentage should be much higher for the star that he is, but he's usually passing the ball off. He's not. They're not
right. He's a centerpiece to
ending.
The offensive system, but he's not the guy pulling the trigger on the shots.
The possessions aren't ending with him on his team, and I think that's the biggest thing for the Nuggets is that if they go up against the Golden State Warriors, it's that star power that's going to kill them because, again, they don't need to play in that system. The system's fantastic for that team because you can throw KD and ISO. You could throw you can have the 15 passes in one possession for the Golden State Warriors.
They can pick and roll off screens. They can go high-low action. They literally have everything in the world open to them.
But even then, you can just have KD walk up and fire up a 35-foot shot.
Things aren't working tonight. Let's just hand the ball to KD on offense.
So, and I think that's the other thing. But the thing you kept bringing up, Ricky, that I do want to kind of dispel is the fact that the three-point shooting of Golden State. And it's not really that Golden State's firing up a ton of threes. It's just that they're so efficient at doing so. Right now, they're 20th in 3-point attempts per game, which is crazy to say. but they're also, I think, like third in 3-point made per game. They're 10th in 3-point made per game and leading the league in 3-point percentage at 38.5. So, I mean, the biggest thing is that they're just so dangerous to make 11, and they don't need to base that off their game. And it's even crazier now because we used to, consistently think of, Steph firing up, 11 threes a game, where now they don't need that to be their offense. They can really, attack. Even when Boogie comes back, that's even going to be upped even more. And he's such a great passing big that you're going to get even more wide open threes out there. And that's where it's going to be, really dependent on teams to be great systemically, defensively to really stop them. And that's why I think if it's Denver versus Golden State, or Denver versus Golden State, or Oklahoma City versus Golden State, I might lead OKC because you do have those great defenders with great length.
And you can switch on anybody with Oklahoma City's roster.
But if we're not going up against Golden State, and we're just talking about strictly the regular season, I think the ability to play within systems, both offensively and defensively, for Denver is going to be the biggest thing, and that's why I think they're the second best team in the Western Conference. But are there any other teams? Because obviously we threw out the Clippers, we threw out the Thunder, we threw out the Nuggets. We throw out the top 3 teams right now in the standings, but I think it's deeper than those teams because, again, you're saying they're a hamstring away. The Rockets are from jumping back into the playoffs, and this is a team that's made changes already to their roster. They've added, guys back to their coaching staff, their defensive coordinator. So do you think that there is a team out there that is a dark horse that can make a run in the second, third, and fourth quarter of the NBA season to get to that second spot in the Western Conference?
I don't want to give the Timberwolves credit yet, but we have seen a change in attitude and we have seen some quick results. And it's a large change from going from a player who doesn't want to be there and who's actively trying to hurt the locker room to bringing in guys like Robert Covington and Dario Saric, who are great teammates all the time and who are effort players. Like, they are going to give you 100% of everything they got every night. And watching this team, I think, Sean, you said before the show, they're 7-2 since the trade going down. And defensively, they went from one of the worst to one of the best in the league during that span. I think it is a good step in the right direction, but I'm not ready to say that they're like a lock for the playoffs and they're a lock for, maybe an interesting matchup in the first or second round, because we're not seeing anything out of Andrew Wiggins yet. And that's still the big thing. Like, I'm seeing Robert Covington be consistent, which is scary because that's always the danger with him. Is he is the as hot he can be incredibly hot, he can go incredibly cold just as quick, and it's when you need him to be there. Is he going to be there? You don't know. You couldn't count on him last year, especially during the playoffs. So seeing him come out and drop 24 and 21 in back-to-back games, like, oh shit, if he becomes like a staple in an offense instead of a role player in an offense, like maybe we could see a new level to his game. But we still haven't seen Wiggins, and I think in order to succeed, you need all 3 of those guys firing, and we'll get there maybe during this year, or maybe he just won't find his stride on this team, and they've got a situation to figure out with that contract. But they're a team who I'm not ready yet, but I think you got to watch out for them going forward.
Well, and the one thing too, in cleaning the glass, you sort from the day of the Jimmy Butler trade to now, and you see the change in Minnesota. They're second in offensive and defensive differential. They're second in the league. Point per possession offensively. They're 16th, scoring 109.6 points per possession. But defensively, 99.6 they're allowing. So we're kind of seeing that Tibbs magic come back a little bit defensively. Guys are closing out a little bit better. Karl-Anthony Towns isn't getting abused every single night, every single possession. He's not a great defender in any sense of the word. But
so you love the tongue-in-cheek interview with Robert Covington asking him, like, how's it feel to get bailed out by Robert Covington all night? Like,
and even then, like, he doesn't need to be a massively great defender, because the biggest thing about Cat is what he does offensively.
Correct.
And again, look at what he's been doing since that
his touches
November 12th
since the trade.
Yeah, even he's shooting 15 shots a game, 53.6% from the field, 4 threes a game too, 38.9%. He's averaging 3.8, nearly 4 offensive boards per game, 14 boards, 2.7 assists, and that's 21.6 points per game. So, I mean, the ability to keep possessions alive as well has been huge for Minnesota. I don't know if it's going to be sustainable, but I think that will help them maybe level out to closer to the 6th seed than, maybe like the 12th seed in the Western Conference. I think we're getting more consistent play from everybody instead of the not knowing if Jimmy Butler's going to be in the lineup or not, and then who's going to need to make a step up. You're going to know who's going to be playing every single day who's going to be giving their all because one guy's not going to be wanting out, and I think that's been absolutely huge for them so far.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing I'm waiting for is that roster to settle into its rotations because I still haven't seen consistency in playing time given to Josh Okogie, a guy who has deserved it, who is a two-way player who, young, yes, but like Tibbs has to just admit that he's very good and get him out there more because he is an effective player
Tibbs
out there.
don't like rookies.
He doesn't like young kids.
He don't like those
Who knew?
rooks.
But no, like their second unit now gets bolstered up by adding Dario to that unit, and then you can get Okogie and D Rose out there, so you continue that offense and you still get the effort on defense. I think they're an interesting team, but I'm not ready to put them in there yet. I just not ready to pull a string on that.
I don't think anyone's going to hate you for that.
No.
Because, I mean, again, Minnesota.
I'm not trying, yeah.
Once we said that trade happened, we didn't think they were going to be anything. We didn't think they were going to be making the playoffs. We thought it was a done year. And so far, they've just been massively impressive and shocking the world.
I got two that I want to mention.
Throw 'em out.
The first one is Portland, only because this team to me, completely different of what I've said about Denver. They are Dame, CJ, a little bit of Nurkic. And, like, that's all you're going to get from the, like, three main scorers. And this year for Portland, it's like, I like them. Like, I liked watching them play the Nuggets last night. However, they're going to be a team where it's like, oh, wow, they're going to win this game. But it's going to be like 108 to 105, where it's going to be like...
You're down to that last second.
Down to the last second. Or it's going to be, hey, we played the Warriors and the Bucks, and we got blown out like 140-something to 108. And it's going to be a huge game. The other one that's my more serious one, and this isn't a compete with the Warriors, it's to compete with those T-Wolves for maybe the 8th seed, the Mavericks. Ever since the calendar flipped to November, this team went from 2-6, and they were now, if my math is correct, 8-4 in the month of November. Like, this is a team that has flipped it in 1 month, and maybe they're a team that makes a run for an 8th seed this year.
Guys, we're talking about the second best team in the West. We're not talking about the 8th seeds
I just want to give some love to Dallas.
I tried to give it to him last time. I thought that, if they did add Bradley Beal, that team could be a legit playoff contender. But obviously it's going to be very tough for them to do so with their pick being in Atlanta and not really having the cap space to move that. Obviously Wes Matthews would be a part of that, but there's not really a trade out there that could send Bradley Beal to Dallas, my bad. And their bench has been fantastic as well, and they're going to get Dirk back at some point. Luka's been really good so far. Had a bad night against the Lakers, but that's a team I do kind of want to bring up because let's get away to teams that probably aren't going to be making the playoffs to teams that are probably in the playoff picture.
But where behind the Warriors are they? Is the question?
What do you mean?
No, it's like you said, teams that are in the playoffs that are
behind the Warriors. And I think the Lakers are a team that, they haven't been massively consistent, but they do have LeBron James. Are they in that radar of second best team in the West? Do you have faith that this team can be the second best team in the Western Conference, especially having the best player in the NBA and LeBron James on this team?
I want to lean towards no, and only because part of me feels like they got to, if they want to make that happen this year, I feel like they got to make a move. Like, I saw an article on ESPN today where it was like, can Brandon Ingram and LeBron James kind of coexist? And the question is, and I don't know the answer for sure, can they? And I'm kind of leaning towards no. I'm kind of leaning towards if this team wants to be successful, maybe you got to move BI for something to get LeBron some help because you're not going to move LeBron.
What do you think?
I think that giving up Brandon Ingram would probably be a mistake. You got LeBron for 4 years. Use the 4 years. You don't. There's no one saying that this is the year you have to, go for a championship. And I'm pretty sure that's what LeBron was saying when he signed the contract was, I want to be here, I want to build something, and I want to win. It just the expectation shouldn't be this year. That's all I'm saying. I don't think you move a piece like BI yet. Like he is an incredible defender, and he's got an interesting skill set because of his body size and shape. So give it some time.
Well, and I know it's fun to trash on Lonzo too, and he hasn't been great or consistent this year, but he has shown flashes of really good signs. I mean, obviously, he had that thing against Denver where he just absolutely crosses over Jokic and hits that three. His passing ability has still been on display this year, and he's still a good defender. So I think that there is hope for their young players. I don't know if you're going to get that consistency, though, that you guys are saying, that they could be that dangerous. And I think it's pretty much the same situation that has been
They're still relying
LeBron
so much
Cleveland.
on LeBron to close out games. And that's the thing that I'm worried about is when he's playing 38, 39 minutes a game every night during the regular season, that's gonna lead to a toll on his body. And we know that he's been the guy who's taken care of his body the most as an aging superstar than anyone we've ever seen before. But still, you have to just understand that this team is not there yet, and that's why I can't put them in looking for that number 2 seed behind the Warriors.
And just to run quick through the rest of them, and
Sure.
it's not really, do you think they're going to be the second best team? But where would you, if you had to put a label on them, are they playoff contenders? Are they for sure playoff, in the playoffs in your mind? Are they dangerous? Are they dark horses? Are they just not going to making the playoffs at all? Team we didn't mention, Dave, I'll go to you for this one. Memphis. What is Memphis's label? Are they legit?
They're just dope. They're out there killing it. Like Mike Conley, again, being Mike Conley is fantastic. His shooting percentages, like we talked earlier, are starting to rise back up to the normal, which is wonderful. Marc Gasol, he's just classic Gasol out there, like dropping like 15, 5, and 5, no problems. And Triple J last night killed it, dropped 36. I think he had 7 straight go to take it to overtime because of stupid penalty or stupid foul on a 3-point shot. No, they're a very good team, but they're not going to have the scoring to keep up with a team like Golden State. Defensively, yes, that's their whole game plan is if we keep it close defensively, we'll be fine. They're not going to have the firepower when the time comes.
Yeah, they have the worst points per game in the Western Conference right now at 104.9, just behind the Utah Jazz at 105.9. Ricky, I'll go to you with the Jazz then. What's the label on the Jazz right now at 11-12?
This is a team that I don't think is going to make the play. I'm going to say I don't think they'll make the playoffs, and I only say that because I have a feeling that a team like the T-Wolves, the Mavericks, or the Pelicans right now, or even the Rockets, teams that are like out or barely in the playoffs right now, are going to do enough to squeak ahead of them.
I mean,
like
it's literally
Utah,
1 game right now. So.
I know, but it's like Utah to me has been kind of like an enigma this year. Thought they would be better record-wise than they are right now.
You crying Don Mitch's ass. I mean, come on. He's just an inefficient chucker out there right now.
I mean, maybe he's fallen a little bit into...
being sarcastic.
Maybe he's fallen into the JT role of things, kind of regressing this year. But, I mean, no. Seriously, though...
Kyle Korver shouldn't move the needle at all?
It does. And I want to see what he does with the team kind of in a larger sample.
Yep.
But I would put more of my money on the Pelicans and the Rockets to make the playoffs right now than the Jazz.
See, you look at the Jazz, and again, we mentioned them as having a good road record at 9-6, but you look at their actual splits, and I don't even know how they're 9-6. On the road right now, they average 105.3 points per game, and they're allowing 105.5 points per game. So they have a negative differential, although they have 3 wins there. And then you look at home, they've been much better offensively at home, scoring 107 to 105.3 points per game, but they've been allowing 113 at home. So, I mean, you look at them, I think that it might even out a little bit, but if it evens out, I think that might, you might see a dip in their road record, a bump in their home record, and that just might put them at, 42-42, and I don't know if that's really going to be a playoff team in the Western Conference. Other team that I want to throw out there that we haven't talked about would be the New Orleans Pelicans that you mentioned, Ricky. 2-10 away, 9-2 on home. It's good to see that they're defending their home court right now. And obviously Anthony Davis has not been healthy. The Julius Randle, Nikola Mirotic, AD trio to start was fantastic. Drew was good as well, but they haven't been really consistent. This is a team that I do think is going to be in the playoffs. I do think this team is going to be able to bounce back. We'll talk about AD in a little bit, and obviously he's going to have to do a lot of carrying, but I do think this team has a lot of talent. When they are fully healthy, when they are at full strength, I do think that they are a playoff team and will be able to get more consistency this year and be able to make a playoff push. Dave, to Houston, what are your label on Houston right now?
I think they are legit. I think they've figured it out. They just need to be healthy, and that's the thing is like if you have Chris Paul, Clint Capella, and James Harden, you're going to win games. If you miss one of them, you're not going to win anymore. Like that's it really brings every game to a struggle. Like Eric Gordon being thrust into that starting lineup is rough on them because their bench scoring then becomes non-existent. Like they have no consistency off the bench when it comes to scoring. And that's kind of funny because it's Carmelo's role. We all joked about that, but. No, they're still a move away. Like they need to do something, and I trust Daryl Morey to do that because he's never a man to sit on his hands when things can be done. So I expect them to make a roster change in the next couple months and put them in position. But as long as there's no long-term injuries to this team, they're a playoff team. They're a lock, and they're dangerous in the playoffs if they're healthy.
And it's very similar to last year. I mean, obviously they did much better when Chris Paul was out, and it's really when those big three are on the floor. Yeah. Harden, Capella, and
Harden's
Chris
usage
Paul.
right now is just insane.
But when those three are on the floor, they are a dangerous team.
Yeah.
And they have been showing that so far this year. I do think they are a playoff team, but I don't know if they're top 4. And I don't think they are going to be the second most dangerous team.
They can get healthy games together, they could be, but that's a big ask right now.
Final last 3 teams, not going to ask you to give them a label, but is anyone thinking that the Spurs, Suns, or Kings will make the playoffs, or are they just bottom feeders right now? Or are they just guys that finish outside of the playoffs?
I want to say the Spurs, but it's weird looking at Tankathon seeing them at number 9.
No, I don't think the Spurs have a shot at the playoffs this year.
I mean, they're not shooting threes. They're efficient when they shoot
Pop
them.
don't like the three.
But they're making 9 a game. Like, I mean, you need to be making more than that. And DeMar DeRozan has had fantastic games, but again, you can't be living in that mid-range bullshit like consistently. That's why Toronto was like, all right, we need you to shoot more threes. You did it. You looked really great last year, and you were finished 8th in MVP, and then you just regressed back to what you were. And again, that's a really great player, but it's not a franchise changer like a Kawhi Leonard is, and that's why you end up getting moved. So I just look at that, and I really don't trust San Antonio right now. I think the Kings is a fun story.
They go for the tank, and they go for it's the
go for the Dookie.
Go for a Dookie. Like, they're gonna be bad. I don't know if they're gonna be Eastern Conference bottom feeder bad, but they'll be bad enough that they'll have a good shot.
Yeah.
The Kangs though, you started, and I'm jumping in on it.
Playoffs?
Look,
then if it's not playoffs, then we gotta end this topic. That's what I was asking you. They're fun, but
they're in the running for the playoffs. I'll say it because
they're below the Spurs right now.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
they're even
a little.
They're dead even. But like, you gotta remember, like the 14th team or 12th team.
Spurs are technically a half game behind.
Yeah. So there you go. They're all in it, and they got back Bogdanovic, which is the biggest deal because he was their best player last year, and he's been reintegrated to this team. Couple games so far. His last couple have been, he had a 10-2-2 and then a 23-3, then a 26-4-6. Like, he is going to continue to improve and add to this team where De'Aaron Fox was awesome. We're starting to see Bagley now start play. He was forced into playing time, which was hilarious that the owner had to say something publicly to get him minutes, but not going to touch that topic today. But no, I think they're legit in the running for a playoff spot in the West. And we talked about them having a horrible month, and that's exactly what's happening. Like, they lost 3 in a row.
And they're only a half game out of the playoffs.
They're going to keep losing games, but there's going to be some future. There's going to be some time, and they've got great young talent. And I think that they're going to be like one of those teams where it's like, you're going to be looking like with 15 games to go, and you're like, holy shit, the Kings are still in this shit.
The only question I got to ask is, are you only saying this because you want that Celtic pick to be lower?
I'm just saying, if the Celtics pick is, like 15 or something, I ain't going to feel bad.
They didn't have that 5-game win streak the Kings did, but obviously, like you mentioned, November.
They've got a really rough schedule.
Was a tough run. Well, no, November was a tough run. Well, I'm just saying, November, they took a big dip.
Yep.
2 losses to Milwaukee, Toronto, then they beat Minnesota, lost to the Lakers, beat San Antonio, then back-to-back losses to Memphis and Houston, beat Oklahoma City and Utah, then lost to Golden State, Utah, LA Clippers, and they're currently on a 3-game slide playing Indiana tonight. So we'll see
exactly what
ends
said
up
when
with.
Sean wasn't here.
I know, that's what I was saying. We did their preview basically, and we're like, so this is how this season's going to look for you. Let's reality check.
I think that they're going to be a fun team to watch, but I don't think they're a playoff team. Final answer on second most dangerous team. Lock it in.
Nuggets.
I'm sticking with OKC. Defense travels.
It depends on what we mean. If we're saying regular season, I will go with the team on my hat, Denver Nuggets.
Yep.
But if we're talking about playoffs and trying to beat the Warriors, I think OKC is up there. I think the Lakers are up there just for the sole fact that they have LeBron James. And we have seen what LeBron has done to them before.
He can will victories.
Getting 1 victory in the past 9 games in the playoffs. But that's more than most people can say. And then I think that you probably have to watch out for Utah if they ever get their shit figured out offensively. But I don't know if that's actually going to be able to be happening because Ricky Rubio has looked like shit.
Well,
Don Mitch has looked like shit.
Is it the loss of Coach Igor?
Simple.
Coach Igor leaves and the offense struggles a little bit.
It's possible.
I think they put a lot of faith in Donovan Mitchell out the gates, and he struggled. Like he's not taking the most efficient shots. He's not taking the best looks. He's just shooting right now. So I think once now with the addition to Korver, I think they're going to have some nice offense added to that system. He's always running, which means somebody else can get good looks off picks. Like, I think they're going to be fine.
And we will revisit this topic a little bit later and see who was right, who was wrong, and where the standings lead us a little bit near the halfway mark. But let us know who you think the second most dangerous team in the Western Conference is down below or on Twitter at MostValuablePod. But let's move into Wet Boys, our favorite topic of the Fast Break podcast. It's a weekly segment where we give praise to guys who absolutely balled off over the past week had historic performances, were, put up stupid stat lines, just absolutely balled out, had some magnificent highlights, whatever you want to do. We give some shine to some people, and we add this all up, and we give a total out. We give a Wet Boy of the Year award out. LeBron James was our winner last year with 6 Wet Boys throughout the season. So we're going to talk about the soggiest of shooters, the dampest of dudes, the moistest of men. These are our Wet Boys. Ricky, start us off with your first Wet Boy.
Yeah, mine's going to be Domantas Sabonis. And the reason why is it's plain and simple. Averaged a double-double, 18 points, 13-7 boards for the entire week. Yeah, I know that he went 2 of 3 and lost to the Lakers and only beat the Suns and the Jazz. But, I mean, limited minutes, putting up the numbers he did this week, shooting well from the line. I'm a big proponent of that. Averaging a double-double, shooting 48% from the field. Sabonis getting his first Wet Boy ever.
This one shocked me, too, when you threw that out there, because there was a lot of guys that were worthy, and you typically like to roll in the high-level names.
Roll them dice.
In the mainstream. So when you threw out Sabonis, obviously we've been a guy that we've followed him for the past couple of years. We saw him live in his...
they won that game, too, didn't they? Didn't they beat Virginia? Or did Virginia beat them when we played them?
Don't remember.
No,
they lost because then Syracuse beat them. In the
That's right. That's right.
So we have seen him for a while, but a nice, lower tier name, and that's going to bring up a question that I saw on Twitter. One of my favorite guys on Twitter now, Andrew D. Bailey, he was asked a question, what's the best team you could put together that a casual NBA fan might think is really bad? Sabonis, I thought, was a name that, casual NBA fans probably do not know.
He's on mine.
Yeah, I asked you guys to, let me set it up. You can't just say they're on mine. People don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So I asked Ricky and Dave, and I put one together too, to put together a starting 5 of guys that people may not know, the casual NBA fan may not know, to put out a team that could make the Western Conference Finals. This was the one that Andrew threw out, so you guys have a knowledge. Goran Dragic at the point. Bogdanovich at the shooting guard. His brother, Bojan Bogdanovich at the 3, Nikola Mirotic at the 4, and Nikola Vucevic at the 5. So who is your starting 5?
So mine is going to be Luka Doncic at the point guard.
People know him.
Gary Harris at the shooting guard, Zach LaVine, Sabonis, and then Vucevic.
I think the only bad one would be LaVine.
I think
LaVine and Luka.
LaVine's top, but the
LaVine's
Bulls.
the most popular player on a Chicago
He won a
team.
dunk contest.
True, but how many people still think he's, unless you're in Chicago and watching Chicago sports right now, he's not really covered that much. That's why I was mine might teeter with a few.
I think Luka's a for sure. I think he can't be in there because he's already a star pretty much.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that there are people that doubt him or doubt his.
But the fact that he's being doubted, people know him. Like we're saying, they don't know. They might think he's really bad.
Fine, I'll come up with a new point guard.
No. I think it's fine. It's fine.
And you can come back.
No, it's fine. I mean, if your point is saying that people might be doubting him, the point is that NBA fans might think it's bad. So I think it's, if you're going from that perspective, it's not the worst. Dave, what was your starting 5?
Sure. So my starting 5 is actually a little similar vein. At point guard, Dennis Schroeder. At shooting guard, Buddy Hield, Woodmore winner. Got to put some respect on that. Small forward, your boy, TJ Warren.
Nice. I was thinking about going with him.
Power forward, Montrezl Harrell. And center, Vucevic.
That team's not playing defense. That all? Outside of Harrell?
Watch me give. They're going to score.
That's a bad defensive team. I think that's just the Suns. I think you could put that.
No. Because they got a point guard.
Okay, so outside of that, though, I mean, that's kind of the Suns.
Buddy Hield tries a little harder. Montrezl Harrell
so he's your Devin Booker.
Yeah.
Outside of Harrell and your point, I think it's very Suns region right there.
I don't know. I feel like Buddy Hield tries a whole lot harder than Devin Booker does on defense.
That's a fair argument, but better scorer.
I mean, Buddy is actually a better scorer efficiency-wise.
But also he doesn't.
True shooting-wise.
Devin Booker doesn't have a point guard.
Yeah, so I'm adding a point guard and a better efficiency shooter.
So a little bit better than the Suns, which might be a playoff team in the West.
I feel like they're a playoff team in the West.
The one I came up with, I had two first-round picks. The rest were second-round picks. My point guard. This one's a little bit iffy because I think people doubt him. I still kind of doubt him as well. And it's really I don't think people would put him in top 10 point guards, but he might be. Mike Conley, at my point. 2, Josh Richardson.
Who doubts me?
3, Bojan Bogdanovic.
Well, injuries.
4, Pascal Siakam. And 5, Nikola Jokic. We don't put him. He's not a top 10
I feel like Josh
point.
Richardson is known. I feel like Mike Conley's known.
Is Josh Richardson known? I mean, people were like, for that Jimmy
He's
Butler
the best
package
player on the team.
in Miami, who's a bad team this year.
Well, it's kind of like my Zach LaVine argument. Yeah,
Yeah,
Zach
but
LaVine
Josh
won the
Rich-
dunk contest
Josh
like years
Richardson is
ago.
much less known than Zach LaVine.
Maybe I interpret this differently because I want like basically unknown, like so basically not the best player on any team. I want give me the B name, the C name on the team.
I just want
trying to
with-
fill out that roster
But,
with
but,
mostly
here's,
Bs.
but here's the thing:
Yeah.
if you put Richardson on, like a different team, would he be the A name? No. Conley, same thing too. Conley might not even be the most name. I mean, Gasol was a former Defensive Player of the Year, and he's got a famous brother.
Mike
to be
Conley's
honest,
most highest paid player in NBA for a point in time.
People forgot about that
I
because he
didn't.
got injured the next day. I know you didn't, but this is a casual
I
NBA
know,
fan, Dave.
But doesn't that
Mike
also mean
Conley's
that
not
the
on
dunk
top 10?
contest for Levine would have been forgotten by a couple casual fans?
I don't know. I think we're
Conley's
reading a lot
not
into
on,
this. Because I
Sports
wanted to
Center's
go
top
Conley,
10.
and that's why I was like, no, sorry, he's.
I changed mine, by the way. Instead of Luka, D'Angelo Russell, and then instead of Zach LaVine, Rodney Hood.
That's just a bad team now.
I don't think it's a terrible team.
They wouldn't make
I
the
don't,
playoffs.
I don't think that's a great team
No,
because
it's-
D'Angelo turns over the ball like it's his job, and Rodney Hood's a bum.
All right. Let us know what you think down in the comments below. Ricky,
first
your
team
team
better.
is D'Angelo.
I'm just going to say my first one. Luka, Gary, Levine, Sabonis, and Vucevic. I
You,
don't care.
Dave.
Schroeder, Hield, T.J. Warren, Trez, and Vucevic.
Mike Conley, Josh Richardson, Bojan, Pascal, and Nikola Jokic.
I think you hit too much mainstream.
And that's fine. Let us know who did the best job of assembling the team, who put together the best team. Let us know down in the comments.
I want to play
Dave,
like this on like 2K now. Like we just like force draft this to happen, and we'll roll these teams out.
we'll do it.
No
We'll
transactions.
We'll
like,
go
no
to
trades.
yeah.
we'll go-
Once it's forced down.
No,
yeah.
what we'll do is we'll just go to your house.
Yep.
We'll take off. We'll just build these teams, and
Yeah.
we'll just do we'll do a tournament, a 3-round tournament, a
Ooh.
3-game tournament.
I like it.
But let's go to your what boy?
I
A
mean,
more well-known name.
He's sort of well known. I guess some people like him.
Well, he's the leader in the clubhouse now.
Is he?
The leading wet boy. He's got 3.
God, I can't believe that. So it's
He
Anthony
surpassed
Davis.
D Rose.
It's Anthony Davis. He's kind of good at basketball when he's healthy. He might be pretty good. He did have a couple great games this week though. He put up 32, 13, and 3 on average. He has had some phenomenal performances. The only reason I sound so like humdrum about this is because like I didn't pick him for my MVP, and he's sort of doing really
That's why
well
I
in
thought
our
you were gonna
MVP
be-
voting.
I thought you were going to be salty and just avoid giving him the wet boy.
No, I avoided giving Giannis a wet boy actually last week because like he put up the numbers against the Bulls. I was like, that's throwaway numbers.
You
right
gave
there.
it to Vucey Mang last
I know.
week.
I almost gave it to him again. Magic fans trying to win you back over.
So there you go. Now you've
It's Anthony Davis.
put Anthony Davis as leader in
Yeah.
the clubhouse. Jake, our patron Jake, did say that Embiid is the leader for MVP this year so far. That's his opinion. So
Okay.
maybe he's not going to
Shocker
be Anthony
coming from
Davis.
Philadelphia.
Yeah, no. Maybe Anthony Davis won't be the MVP, and you'll be
If
a
he-
little
if
bit.
he-
You'll be
if
able
he's
to
not
swallow that
healthy,
pill a little
he's
bit.
not going to be MVP.
That's true. Let's move to my wet boy. This was probably the easiest choice. I took this from all of you guys. I was the first one to
Yeah.
get it in. Kevin Durant's a goddamn monster. 48 points per game. Per game over the past 3 games. 10 rebounds, 7 assists, 52% from the field, 30% from 3, also shooting 95% from the line, averaging near a steal a game and 1.3 blocks. He's been absolutely stupid. That shot, I mean, he was 1-2. 2-1, and the only loss came to Toronto in an overtime game that he absolutely willed that team to even overtime. That first shot that he hit with like 48 seconds was nasty, and then you gotta hit.
But then he almost injured Steph Curry on the little hip check celebration. Got nervous a little bit.
and then, but to go to the other point, he then upped his own shot in that corner, turnaround corner over Kawhi and tied it up. KD's been stupid good. Over
And if
the
you
past
listen to Max Kellerman, he actually thinks the Warriors won that game. So like that counts, right? That was the weirdest segment I've ever seen.
I think Max has been taking a couple blows when he's announcing those Showtime boxing matches. But yeah, KD's my wet boy of the week. And let's go to fantasy now, our NBA Fast Break Fantasy League, and give the update that we typically have been going to. Professional me, I am not logged into our fantasy team.
I
Anyone
don't
logged
even
in?
have it up.
Cool, great guys. We typically don't do this every single week.
I was expecting you to go to it. I'm logged in.
Forgot to log in.
Yep, I'm there.
All right, give us
easy.
where are we at standing wise while I log in.
First, I got to give first place. The Big Ballers are number one. They've got a total of the 100. We are 7th. Woo, 80. We're 1 point behind What's Up Nation.
Same as last time.
A great place to be behind, right?
We're holding steady.
We're at 80 points.
Yes.
That's an up. Hey, we were at like 75 last time.
We're down 0.5 from yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, we're down 0.5. What's Up Nation passed us, but hey, that's a great team to be behind. A great team. What's
Can you
Up
quit
Nation?
sucking off What's Up
Yeah, we
Nation?
did it.
Well, it's mine. It's I started that, so I gotta give it some love. Got to give it some love. But yeah, we're at 7th overall.
It's not bad. Yesterday we had 112 points, 6 blocks, 8 steals, 57 boards, 35 assists. Shout out to Russ, Trey Young, and Justin Holiday with 7 assists. I did pick up Justin Holiday. I dropped each one more. I feel like that's the overall better pickup.
Yeah.
Justin Holiday yesterday too. 8 points, 3 steals, 1 block, 7 assists, 4 boards.
Yeah, he does a little bit of everything right now.
Yeah, 33% from 3. Still holding on to Bielitsa. We got Brogdon on the bench, although he's been fantastic recently.
Yeah, I was going to say, he dropped a 6-6 game from 3. It was dirty.
And then we have DeMarcus on the bench. Any pickups you think we need? I mean, what are we going
The only thing we're
try to throw out a trade offer for Drummond and get him off the team?
I mean, that's number one. But the only thing we're dutying is blocks and free throw percentage.
Yeah, we are bottom third in blocks right now.
When's Isaiah Thomas coming back?
And free throw percentage. Oh, we want to get blocks from Isaiah Thomas?
No, I'm just in general thinking.
And then we are bottom 4 in free throw percentage. So, I
thought about that too, Dave.
what did you think?
D Wade.
He's been playing pretty good lately.
No, we're not adding D Wade.
He's been
We
playing.
need blocks.
He's averaging a block a game.
He is
except for
actually
yesterday.
averaging a
Come
block a game.
He's
really?
averaging a block a game in the last 5 games he's played.
No, we're not adding D Rose. Come on.
No,
No,
D-Wade.
D-Wade.
D-Wade. Get your head out of the
Come on. Wait, what's it gonna hurt?
It's gonna hurt. Like, what are you talking about? What's it gonna hurt? We're not gonna drop Andre Drummond. That was just a complete joke. But should we try to trade him this episode? All right.
Yes.
Put together your
We
best
do
offer.
it every single time.
No, let's
we never
actually
put together a trade. We just say we're going
No,
to.
let's do it. Let's do it now because we always forget to do this. So let's go to somebody who needs boards.
I don't want to go to college basketball. Not talking to you, Sean.
What's up?
He's clicking the wrong
I
thing.
clicked the wrong
Aspen.
button.
Oh, Grantham. Should we do Grantham? He's 5th right now.
I would say that because the one who's
And
gonna
he's near the top, and he's good in free throws. He's not great in rebounds. We can try to even that out a little bit. What do you think? I think that would be the team we'd look for because he seems to be at least active. So I would say try to trade for him. Maybe Chris Mid for Drummond.
Which team are you looking at?
Grantham.
Rudy Gay.
I don't know if that really helps that much.
The thing I'm looking at is
But if you're just trying to move Drummond for something.
No, the thing I would look for is which teams
Free throw
need
percentage.
Yeah.
which teams need rebounds.
I just told you Grantham.
Well, and I mean,
Grantham's not last, but also he's like
He's bottom-ish.
he's middle of the pack. So if you give him Drummond, he'll take a rise in rebounds. He might take a dip in free throw percentage, but again, he might even out a little bit more to push him up to the pile.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
No, I think that's entirely fair.
what about this? Kansas City Team Kraft.
He's the worst in the league right now.
Yeah.
I was trying to go away from the guys that are worse because typically they're not paying attention to their team.
Maybe is throw out a trade, get Mo Bamba. Mo Bamba would help us with blocks. He wouldn't hurt our team, I don't think. Or if you want to trade for marketing.
I don't think we should do Mo Bamba
unless you want to trade for marketing,
Drummond.
because marketing is coming back, and marketing is not going to play bad.
Okay.
I think we float that one out there.
I'm fine with that. Drummond for marketing. Definitely not.
I feel like that's actually sort of close in value.
What, Drummond for marketing?
Yeah.
I sent it. All right, that's our trade offer.
We'll see if it goes live.
That's a horrible trade though. Mo Bamba for Drummond.
Well,
they probably average the same amount of blocks.
No, Mo Bamba is averaging.
Obama doesn't play enough.
Well, the last 2 games he's had 2 blocks. He had 2-2-1-1-0.
Drummond just had 5-0-2-4-0. So
Yeah.
get rid of that last 0 because it hasn't even started yet. So he's had 4, 2, 0, and 5. In the last 7 days, he's averaging 2 blocks a game and then 1.8 throughout the season. So again, like
He also plays twice the minutes, scores way more points.
With Markkanen, we'll at least be able to save the rebounds. Blocks, we'll probably drop off by a block a game.
Way better free throw shooter.
But he's a better free throw shooter, and he's also going to help us with percentages. So we proposed that to Kraft.
Maybe we'll do some back and forth. If you don't want to go strip, we'll see what we can do. But I think it's pretty close actually in value.
We'll hope so. All right, and hopefully our guy Bonani helps us out in the comments. But that's going to wrap it up.
For the
fantasy update, the little break for Wet Boys as well. But let's move into the next topic, and that is the 2019 draft. Big news coming out of Vanderbilt. Darius Garland, one of the top point guards in the 2019 draft pool, is out for the remainder of the season. This was announced on November 27th. Freshman point guard Darius Garland had surgery for a meniscus injury in his left knee and will miss the remainder of the season. Coach Bryce Drew announced Tuesday Darius had a very successful surgery and he will be better than ever when he returns. Unfortunately, he will be out for the remainder of the season. So he was projected into our lottery that we did pre, where Zion was like 5th, and we all regret not having him higher. But he was a guy, Darius Garland, that we had near the top of all of our point guard lists. Ricky, you just came out with your big board. You and Brandon did on the Primetime podcast. Where did you have Garland rank, and where does this subsequent injury put him, and how does it affect your point guard rankings for the 2019 draft?
So at the time we did ours, I had him at 16. But this was also the thing that's changed too is it was indefinitely at the time. Didn't know if he was going to have I compared it to a Michael Porter Jr. situation where it was like, oh, I'm out. I'm going to come back come tourney time and try to then up my draft stock, as now he's out for the entire year. The thing with me with this is it changes things, but it doesn't change a whole lot, because for me, Ja Morant, Dave's boy, is still the number one point guard to me. But I think all this changes is now our eyes are going to go from, with Darius Garland, the choice is too, does he then come back next year? Or does he say like a Nick Bosa situation of like, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to work on this injury. I'm still going to the draft. I'm going to go through the process anyways. And he then is still the number 2 point guard. Or does a guy like Trey Jones step up a little bit in rankings, because although he is the 4th guy on that Duke team, he is still he's shown flashes, and we could be focusing more on him now that Garland is out for the year.
Yeah, the big thing too that recently the boys from Draft Express, now on ESPN, put out a full 60 mock, and Trey Jones was not on that at all, which I found shocking. The fact that through 60 picks he would not be taken at all. And maybe they're projecting that he's not going to be coming out. But I think if he does come out, he's at least a first round. He's at least worth a look in the first round.
I had him at 21 on the big board.
Doesn't mean he's going to be a for sure number 1 pick. Right. But so far what we've seen, he's bigger than his brother. His brother obviously was a first round pick, Tyus. I think Tyus was a better shooter, but when it comes to all-around basketball play, I think it might be easier for Trey to come into the NBA. So I think not having him in your top 60 at all, I think it is ridiculous, and Trey Jones does need to get some love. Yeah. But Dave, he brought up your boy, the 6'3" guard out of Murray State, the Racers, Ja Morant, number 12.
He's a high usage monster.
What do you think about him?
I mean, thank you to Stevian for hyping people up about him, accurately so, because he's basically the entire team at Murray State, and it's hilarious to watch him play because he is strong, he has great size, he is physical when he needs to be, great touch around the rim, and he's the only thing that my biggest criticism of him is his off-ball movement needs to improve. But as a point guard, I guess that's a plus. It's not really something you hold against a guy too much. It's just the dude has confidence in his game, and it shows. And he gets you points, he gets you rebounds, he gets you assists. He does everything for this team. So that's the question: is because of his level of competition, do I think he's for real? And that's the thing where I'm I want to say yes. Out the gates right now, I'm still going to say yes. I'm still going to back him as the number 1 point guard on my board. But that's the thing, as the season continues, I want to see if he has any consistency, because his 3-point shots out of there, it's not game in and game out. The 4 games he's played, he went 2 of 6, 0 of 1, just completely gave up on that 3-point shot that game. But to be fair, he didn't play many minutes. It was sort of a blowout. The next game against Missouri State, 6-12. Again, Confernce is there. He's taking the shots. And then 0-4 against Bama. So when they lost, he was hurting. He took 29 shots that game. Like, he is Murray State's offense. So credit to him. He is hitting up every single stat category, blocks, steals. He's doing everything for them.
Even doing turnovers, 10 turnovers against Alabama.
Well, that's the thing. Is like
I was joking.
No, and it's fair because like as a point guard, your ball handling, your turnover ratio is under the microscope, and I think with him, a lot of the time he has kind of a greedy passing game. It's not like Steph Curry fancy, but it's just like his team's not on the same level as he is as far as the expectation. So like he throws an expectation of, and if his team's not moving with him, he looks wrong. But if you watch the play and how it unrolls, like, oh, I could see where he wanted him to come off that screen, or I can see where he wanted him to dive behind, take the back door to the bucket. But like I feel like he's got it. Like he's just one of those players
special
who has it because of his physical intensity. He has confidence in his shot, and he is right now. He's been the best player in every game on both teams. So like I want to see him against a higher level of competition as the season goes on.
Well, I mean, you can take that. I think you can take that Alabama, although it's a small sample size, as like, okay, this is what I know. The 40 minutes, I know 29 shots is like, oh well, we want more of an even usage, but take into consideration, like you said, the team that he's on. But like just looking at some of the highlights from that game alone, the thing I like most is like he's got that wicked spin move where he just drives in, spins around the defender. And then it's like, I'm either going up for the dunk / layup, or I'm passing it down low to my big. And that quick pass that he does right to the big, so the big can put it up for 2.
And the one thing, too, you talk about the step up in competition. Not really going to come too much when you're playing in the OVC.
I know.
He's got a run against Evansville, Jackson State, Southern Illinois, Middle Tennessee, Prairie View, A&M coming up. But he does have
the tournament easily.
But he does have one big game coming up, and that is December 22nd against number 8 Auburn. So that is going, and that's at Auburn as well. So you're playing an SEC defense, a team that made it to the tournament. So whether or not he does make it to the tournament or not, because this is a team that's going to need to win their conference tournament to get in. We don't know how they're going to do in conference play. Again, although John Morant has been dominant, 27 points per game, how will that translate to the OVC? Will they be able to shut him down? And again, you just need one bad game, really, for them to not make the tournament. But he will at least have one for sure big matchup against Auburn on December 22nd. Now, before we get into these guys a little bit more, I kind of want to shrink it a little bit. Guys that we could talk about. First, let's talk about Darius Garland, just because he did have 16 points per game, 3.8 rebounds, 2.6 assists. What is the expectation for him? Do you think he's going to come back next year? Do you think he's going to declare no matter what? Is this going to be a Michael Porter Jr. situation where, obviously Darius is going to be out for the full season, unlike Michael Porter Jr., but he's still declared anyways because of his prospects professionally. So what do you expect from Darius Garland, and should we include him in the discussion of point guards for this upcoming draft, or do you think he will be going back to college?
I can't speak onto what's going on in Garland's head because obviously I don't know who he is. But to me, there's a couple things that I think about. And number one is the draft process in general. If your meniscus is healed enough, and after the surgery that they said that was successful, if he is healed enough by the draft process and by the combine to show us what he can do, I feel like we may see him try it. With like I said, the process, try it, and then, oh, wait, it's not working. I'm going to back out before the deadline. To where at this point, he will probably not be in a future big board of mine, but I still feel like I kind of want to include him in the draft process until it is official that no, he is coming back, because on the other side, I think about it, I'm going to compare it again to, and one of the commenters on our big board when we talked about this was like, oh, ask Derrick Rose how his knees are now. And it's like, look at Derrick Rose. He injured his knees again. Like, this is an injury that now that you've had it can happen again. And if you're healthy enough for the draft combine, the draft process, do you want to come out and get that money? Or do you want to come back like Jonte Porter, get injured again, and then you're screwed?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Garland, at least in deciding on whether he wants to come back or not, is the tie he does have to Vanderbilt, because he is from Nashville, Tennessee. That is his hometown. That is, the biggest campus that is in Nashville, Tennessee. They have so many campuses there, but the big one is Vanderbilt. So does he want to have that pride of playing for his hometown school? If he doesn't, though, there is precedent for this, and this comes from 247sports.com from Evan Daniels, comparing it to Kyrie Irving's injury, because obviously Garland was doing fantastic, like we mentioned, 19.7 points per game, 4.75 rebounds, 3.25 assists, 11 to 23 from three. But he said it's eerily similar to Kyrie Irving going down 8 games into Duke's 2010-2011 season. Yeah. Irving was, however, able to return for the NCAA tournament. And now the biggest question is, how will the injury impact Garland's draft stock? 247 Sports reached out to multiple NBA executives to gauge their takes. One high-ranking NBA executive told 247 Sports when asked if the injury would impact his stock, "I think they're being cautious, and that's a good thing. There's too much body of work. Anyone who has done their homework knows what his game is and know who he is as a person. And then from a basketball perspective, there is no impact on it." So hearing that, taking that in, Dave, do you have similar thoughts to these NBA executives, or are you on the other side? Because, although it is, something that could be cautious, on the side of cautious, you could play within the season for this, it is a knee injury to a smaller guard that's going to be taking hits, that's going to be driving and going
relies
to be
on
landing.
That athleticism.
How does this affect him? How does this affect your draft stock to him?
I think he's lucky that this year is a very top-heavy draft, and due to the lack of depth, I think he's still going to remain probably in the 9 to 12 range for me. I don't think he falls off that far. I think he, went from being a 5 to 8 to a 9 to 12 for me. Like, there's just, what he is. You watched him for me, it was the high school tape that convinced me. I was like, there's a reason he was the number 1 point guard coming out of high school. Mm-hmm. But what I saw there was just a shit ton of handles and the ability to kind of twist his body around the net. Like, he's able, and that's why I love the Kyrie Irving comparison that Evan Daniels made in that article, because when he mentions, I was like, oh yeah, I could definitely go back and see that. That's
well, there's even, because I pulled up the Liberty film right here, and there's one where he drives in, he spins, and his back is to the basket, but then he lays it up with the back of his hand, and it goes in.
Right, he is a great finisher at the basket. So I think, again, it's a matter of circumstances with this year. If I were him, I would 100% coming out. There's zero chance I would come back. You just go, you get yourself healthy, you build yourself up for the combine, and that's all it is. The class isn't that deep. We're literally talking about a guy potentially being, and Trey Jones, it's not in people's top 60 even. There is a desperate need for a great point guard out of this class, and I don't think he falls that far. I think he goes even to Ja Morant, because Ja Morant, like I said, doesn't have that body of work to put up against him as far as quality opponents.
And I agree with you, too. I mean, the fact that, Garland still has this talent, it's just how will he be affected? And even like Ricky's point, if he does want to come out and try the combine and doesn't like what happens, he can always pull out, which is a great addition to this.
And that could also be a negative, too, because it's all about trusting that knee after, you start rehabbing it and stuff, and it could be a double-edged sword of, hey, I'm going to try to work at the combine, and then we see him at the combine, and there could be a possibility we go, oh, he might not be the same player.
Or he might be absolutely fine.
Exactly.
And then he might rise back up. So, again, we won't know until we're faced with that situation. And, we obviously seen guys, take rises late in the draft last year, too. I mean, you look at Jerome Robinson. Hasn't been too well so far. I mean, he has been mostly the G League.
He doesn't get a lot of playing time. That's his issue.
Yeah, but also, I mean, if you have the talent, you should be playing.
But they're a super deep team. I'll defend him for now. But you're right. For where he was taken, we should have expected to see him on the court.
You can see guards rise if there is a need for it. And I think that's the argument I was just trying to make. And Garland is a guy that, again, was highly ranked coming out of high school. So let's leave him into this pack. I got 6 point guards in this pack that we...
Before we go any deeper in that pack, I think with his knee injury and the mention of Kyrie, knowing what we know about Kyrie's career as it's played out so far with the continued nagging injuries, and it's never been 100% healthy throughout his entire career, I'm sorry, I would still pull the trigger on that pick. Taking Kyrie where he was drafted, 100%
if
confident.
Cleveland didn't, they don't have a championship.
Well, that's the thing, is because his skill is so high, I'm good taking that risk that even if he re-injures, there's still talent there. We're even seeing it with Derrick Rose to a further extent. Like,
and that's why
he was
if
still
I'm
a good player.
Well, that's why I'm him. I come out because I would rather re-injure in the NBA than re-injure in college.
Well, and also, I mean, you even look at that 2011 draft. I mean, there's no one in that top 8 that you would take over him. It was Derek Williams, Enes Kanter, Tristan Thompson, Valanciunas, Jan Vesely, Bismack Biyombo, Brandon Knight, and then you finally start hitting all-stars. Kemba Walker, Jimmer Fredette, first-row all-star, Klay Thompson, and then you have to go all the way to 15 to Kawhi. So I think the only player you would take over Kyrie in that situation would be Kawhi, but even then, he wasn't going to be going number 1.
Like, the hype level going into that.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, Kyrie was by far the number 1 player in that draft. To your point, Cleveland, looking at the top players in that draft, the guys that ended up being all-stars were not top players. I mean, Kemba was 9, Klay was 11, Kawhi was 15. None of those guys were in discussion for number 1 pick. So I agree with you that you would re-pull that trigger. But again, this is different because Darius Garland wasn't a number 1 pick. He's not in the top 5, I think, even before this injury. So then you have to look into it, and is he still the number 1 point guard? So we'll keep him in there for that for this discussion. I got 6 of them: Darius Garland, Trey Jones, Shamori Pons of St. John's, Kevin Porter of USC, the 6'6" freshman, Ja Morant, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, the cousin of our boy Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And the one thing that I have noticed about this, and it's going to be our favorite topic with draft prospects, we're talking height, guys. Everyone loves talking height. So these are.
But what site are you
here?
That's
Okay,
the most important.
Yep.
For Darius Garland, I am using ESPN. For all of them, I am using ESPN, except for Trey Jones, I'm using sportsreference.com. It's sports-reference.com. If you have a problem with the height I say, go email them. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Darius Garland, 6'2". Trey Jones, 6'2". Shamori Pons, 6'1". Then you look at Ja Morant, 6'3". Not a lot of big guards. You look at Kevin Porter, he's 6'6". Nickeil Alexander-Walker, like his cousin, 6'5". So size isn't on the side of these guards. Do you think if size was more of a factor, these guys would be higher up? Like if Ja Morant was 6'5", do you think he'd be up near the top of this draft class, not outside of point guards?
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's one of the things is being able to go with a larger lineup is. Come on, we're going towards positionless basketball. If you have a point guard who can go out and guard a 2 and a 3, matchup wise, like why wouldn't you want someone who has that sort of athleticism and body build? Because again, the bigger you are, usually there's an appropriate ratio for your wingspan, which tends to help you defensively. So like it all adds up. So yes, there are guys who are 6'3" with a 6'11" wingspan out there, but like in most situations, it's sort of like linear. I don't know. The interesting one, honestly, I just want to jump into it because like Kevin Porter stands out, but I don't know if he's a point guard or a 2 guard or what he truly is. But he's talented.
What speaks to, like in the game so far you've seen, what speaks to not knowing his position?
I think the ball in his hands is the right move, but I don't see his court vision on the level of what I would expect out of a point guard. He is, and that again, that might be due to the system or the teammates available on the court. Yeah, but like. He's a guy where I am thrilled when the ball's in his hand because he's someone who has an aggressiveness to his gameplay, and it's just his shot looks so fucking good. Like that's one of those things where great shot, great defense. Like he is going to be probably one of the better 2-way players in the guard class as a whole. So I look at that and I'm like, if you think he can transition to being a pure 1 guard, or your system doesn't necessarily need that like old school like court vision only point guard, like he's someone who is dangerous.
Well, and I think it's a fair point. I was just trying to push you further on that because you look at his game log too. I mean, the most assists he's had in the game is twice he's had 3, and that's nothing. I mean, even if it was like 4 or 5, you'd still be questioning his number 1 guard potential. So I agree with that with Porter, but so far I think if I had to rank them, and this is with Darius Garland in there, I think Kevin Porter might be near the top, might be just a little behind Ja Morant, just because, like you mentioned, his shot, his size, his athleticism is something that is freakish. I mean, like he has that ability to be a number 1 scorer possibly at that 1 guard position. And I mean, you see back in high school, he's throwing down between the like dunks. I mean, like he has that next level ability where if we are going to positionless basketball, he can be just a guard for you. And that's what I really like about him.
I'm going to make a comparison for him.
Okay.
James Harden, a guy who comes in, 2 guard, develops into a 1 guard. Like for me, it's like he's got 1 guard tendencies, but he's more of a 2-guard for me now.
Just be careful a little bit.
Well, I'm just
comparing him to MVPs.
No. I'm saying James Harden, Thunder James Harden too, where it's like he's a guy similar size, about 6'5", a little bit, 6'5.5". I'm looking at Tankathon; they have him at 6'5.5", 217. That's around the same ballpark as where James Harden is. So I mean, I look at the film and it's like he's got 1-guard tendencies, maybe like Dave said, because of USC and what's on their team, he's got to handle the ball a little bit more. But he can develop those at the next level and maybe develop into a James Harden-like player where it's like,
Are you saying that just because his step back shot is like frame for frame James Harden shot?
Maybe, and also because they both played in the Pac-12, ASU and USC.
All right, for me, it was just like you watch his step backs. It's like, oh yeah, that's inspired by James Harden, built by James Harden.
And the one thing too, I mean, you look at James Harden coming out of college. I mean, a huge thing about him was his athleticism, and I mean, Kevin Porter throws down some fucking nasty dunks.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that's huge too. And you do mention the step back. I'm watching a clip right now. There was one he's at the left elbow. It's literally just straight up James Harden.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was like.
So
he did that.
Again, I'm not bashing you for comparing him to James Harden.
You just don't want him to crown him, and I'm not crowning him.
No. It's just like again, like whenever people say, "Oh, you can be like," I just want to clarify.
Like when I threw Zion and LeBron in the same sentence.
Whenever you say a player, they immediately think that's their career.
Right.
Just not like player type, but that's their career. So you just want to clarify that. I think the James Harden comparison isn't far off. But outside of Kevin Porter, outside of John Morant, because we hit them on a little bit, where else do you think these guys rank? I mean, where does Trey Jones rank? How much is he being overshadowed by the other three at Duke?
I think he, based off of the last 2 games I've seen, I think he might be sooner rather than later creeping up as number 3. And the reason why I say that is
3 in rankings or 3 in like
point guard.
Number 3. Oh, okay.
I mean point guard. No, he's not going to be pick number 3 overall.
I'm just clarifying.
And point guards, because like the Gonzaga game, we saw it to where it was one of the big 3 disappeared. Trey Jones showed up. Trey Jones is like, you know what? I'm going to insert myself, be a little bit more of an aggressive scorer, show that I can be that aggressive scorer.
Yeah.
And he put up 17. Then in the Indiana game, puts up 15 compared to early on in the season when it was the 3 Dukies trying to just ball out where he only had 6, 8, and 2. We're seeing more double-digit games. We're seeing those games where it's like, hey, all against Auburn, against Indiana, I can assist a little bit better. But against Gonzaga, one of you guys ain't showing up. I'm going to turn it on and say I can be an aggressive scorer too. And I think that's just going to mold and develop all year for him. And that'll mean going up rather than going down.
Now, we have talked about, dominant scorers. Kevin Porter's been, around 15 a game. John Morant, obviously 27 a game. You're bringing up Trey Jones' scoring. How important is that right now in the NBA to have that point guard that's able to put up the points in this? But because I mean, if Trey Jones isn't a guy that's putting up over 13 points a game, is he able to be effective in other ways? I think that's still going to help his draft stock. Now, obviously, if he's putting up 10 and 5 assists a game, it's going to be better if he's doing 13 and 5.
Yeah.
But I think that I think having that scoring ability obviously helps his draft stock. But I don't know if it really affects his overall stock, because if you're looking for a point guard, I still think that depending on how it fits your system, Trey Jones can still be very valuable to you outside of. Well, what I'm trying to say is point guard ranking I think is different from overall ranking. His scoring ability is going to boost his overall ranking, but I still think he's going to be a very highly ranked point guard.
Who'd be a good fit for him?
What's that?
Right where Tankathon has him, Boston. Because it's like, you know what? It's almost pretty much a similar situation he is in Duke. You got Jaylen Brown, you got JT, you got Kyrie, you got Gordon Hayward, you got all these big names. I'm just going to come in and fit where I need to. Brad Stevens is going to help me do that. And I'm just going to fit into this team and do whatever this team needs me to do to win ball games.
Replace Terry Rozier.
Well, on that too.
I think a big thing too that I do love about Trey Jones, I don't know if you mentioned it, one of the 2 biggest games for them, Kentucky and Indiana. He's had 7 assists, 8 assists in both those games, and no turnovers. That's something you love to see.
It's one of those. Is he being helped more by playing on a team with what do you think? 3 of the top 3 picks?
A little bit.
I would say so. But
do you think that you can?
The burden is off of him. He's playing basically
he's got no pressure.
Exactly. That's my thought. Is the expectation is on R.J. Barrett to be the ball handler on that team. We all know it. He's the guy with the ball in his hands for the majority of these games, and he's the guy distributing. So Trey Jones has a complementary piece to him, and I think that that's kind of nice. But at the same time, that also affects the way I think about him. And not the same way that we, had the Cam Reddish discussion about, like, can he be a true one? Does he have that it factor given the chance?
Trae Young doesn't need to be the number one.
I think that's the thing. I think he could fall more into the mold of being that complementary piece, like, out the gates without having a problem and be able to play with a second unit and do pretty well with that.
And I think a big reason of that is obviously he's playing in a situation that he is familiar with because of his family lineage of Tyus playing at Duke.
Yeah.
But also he has a brother in the league. So he knows how to carry himself. He knows how to be professional. He's gotten tips from Tyus. I mean, you have to think they're talking Tyus made the trip.
The one nice thing that Jimmy Butler did do for his team this year.
Yeah, so I think that, having
it was the
that
Army game, wasn't it?
I think so.
I think it was the Army game.
I think that having that lineage does help Trae Jones because you're obviously going to make that transition into the NBA bigger. And also we're talking about like possibly the third best point guard in the league in this draft right now. And that doesn't mean he's going to need to step in and be like a Ja Morant and the expectation is to score points. Like a Kevin Porter, the expectation is to score points and be a guard. When there is so many stars in the NBA and you're not being drafted into the top, it's how well can you fit in? And I think Trae Jones does have that ability to be a future starting point guard in the NBA. And I think there's less volatility in a pick of Trae Jones compared to a Ja Morant, no offense, I know you love him, or to a Kevin Porter, because while you do see this freakish athleticism, you do see this ability to drive, penetrate, take step-back jumpers, well, how well does that transition to professional basketball outside of college or high school and AAU? I think that Trae Jones will be able to easily make that transition. Obviously, then we're just talking about lower ceiling but higher floor.
Right, and I have to agree with you on that point, Sean. For me, I just go, we've been so spoiled by the last couple of draft classes with their depth and their production. And I look at this class and I go, you're saying potentially third best point guard. I'm going, yeah, he's between 3 and 6 for me, and he might be picked anywhere from 20 to 60 in this. Like, I'm not saying he's not going to go undrafted, but let's be honest, there's not a glut at depth at point guard in this class, and like what I've seen out of him so far, I think comes with an asterisk. Goes, well, how good is he? Without having 3 of the top 3 picks. So given his own team, given the chance to run with guys who don't make him look like a stud, will that assist to turnover ratio remain spotless? Will he be able to lead an offense himself, or is he being asked to do just enough? And when he needs to, he can step up, like you said, in those games when other guys don't. So, well, good. I just can't put him up in my top 3. I think that's, in my mind, pretty much cemented. And then number 4, I go Nickeil. He is solid. He has progressed heavily from his first year in college. And now seeing what Shea is doing in the NBA helps me. Again, you want to go lineage, but I just go look, similar play styles, similar physical builds, and defensively, he's killing it. Offensively, he's doing great for Virginia Tech. And I see him coming back, and the 3-point shot is the biggest thing in my mind when you're looking at guards today. It's like you need to have someone who can confidently take 5 threes a game, and that's your ideal situation, because we see the struggles of point guards who aren't able to stretch the floor, which leads to bad rotations. Nobody's going to truly cover them out on the perimeter. So I look at him as a guy who's like, this is my modern point guard. This is a guy who I can trust. He can play 2 ways. He is a solid shooter from everywhere on the floor, pretty much. He's got a couple cold spots, but for the most part, he is a consistent shooter out there. And right now, we're getting to see him be trusted much more. His shot attempts went from 8.4 to 13.7, and his field goal percentage, again, like I said, he made that big jump up from 44 to 52 right now. He is just hitting expectations right on, and I think that he's a guy who I look to sneak into late lottery.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, because, you look at his cousin as well. Shea wasn't off the bat a hit when coming to prospects. And I did have Nickeil, I think, in my top 20 at some mock draft last year.
Because then he got injured.
Yeah, he did get injured, and then obviously we started coming off him a little bit. But I do agree that the 2-way ability of him is massively there. Obviously, the path of his cousin being in the league, having similar builds, I think it is huge. I think he's a little bit smaller than Shea, because I think Shea's 6'6". I think Nickeil's 6'5". Yeah. I think that Shea has a longer wingspan, but obviously we don't have the official
wingspan from the combine yet.
The combine measurements yet. Final guy that I'll talk about, and then we'll get into our 1 through 6 rankings of the guy, Shamori Pons out of the St. John's Red Storm. He's a guy that averaged 21 last year. Right now he's averaging 23 and 5 assists per game. He's been a guy that hasn't really been consistent this year. He had 20, 21 against Loyola and Bowling Green, then 8 against Rutgers, then bounced back with 2 30-point performances against California and VCU, and then against MD Eastern, he had 4 points, but that's only on 5 shot attempts, and he did play 29 minutes, and then ended with Georgia Tech. This was today, actually. 76-73 win so far. St. John's is undefeated. He had played 37 minutes, 10 of 17 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3, 13 of 15 from the line, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 0 blocks, 3 steals, 3 personal fouls, 2 turnovers, and 37 points. So a big game from Shamari Pons, but again, 6'1", 175, not a bigger guard. He is going to be offensive focused, though. He can pass the ball. He isn't a guy that has been turning the ball over so far this year, and he does have a decent shot. He's not a guy that's going to be lighting it up consistently. He's not a guy that is massively consistent with his 3, but also it's super early in the year right now. His freshman year, he did have 6.1 attempts per game, and that was shooting about 37.5. Last year, it went up to 6.2 attempts per game, but dropped to 25%. Now he's back up against 31. So the shot is there. He's not a horrible form, but he's not a massively consistent scorer and shooter. So he's a guy that I think is limited in many ways, but he is a guy that people do like because of his scoring ability, because he does have that extra output. So those are the 6 guys we're talking about. Those are the 6 guys we're ranking. And Ricky,
I want to throw one more name, Carson Edwards, just to keep an eye on.
Okay.
The only thing I hate is that he turns the ball over too much.
With Carson Edwards, is he above any of the guys that we have?
No, he's dead last for me in the point guard.
He'd be 7th.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So shout out to Carson Edwards of Purdue. Give me your top 6 then rankings. So 1 through 6 of the guys that we have talked about.
I would say
so that's including Darius Garland as well.
Number 1 would be Ja. Then number 2 would be, you know what? I'm gonna switch it. Kevin Porter number 1. Then Ja number 2. Then right now with the injury, I'm still gonna keep Garland at 3, Trey Jones at 4, and then 5 I'll throw in
Nicky Shpori.
I'm going to throw Nicky L in there because he was one that wasn't on my big board but may creep into a big board for 2.0. We'll have to see how the rest of the season goes.
And then you got Shamori last. All right, Dave, you're 1 through 6.
Still going Garland as number 1. Injury be damned. It's, again, I think that it's just one of those cases where he's got that talent. He's got everything we need to see. I don't need to see anything out of him as long as he comes into that combine healthy. Confidence.
Yeah.
I've just got it. I got Ja too. Again, there's the concerns about what he can do against top competition. That's maybe one of the nice things about the combine is they do those 5-on-5 games. Mm-hmm. So we'll get to see him with the other top players attending. So he's a guy who's always going to be close because his numbers are going to be fucking ridiculous all year. But yeah, him at 2, Porter at 3, Nikhil at 4, Trey at 5. Pons, I'm not a buyer in. Like, he's offense. He might be, looking. If you're looking for a 6-man, he might be the guy. But he's also a guy who I'm like, look, 3 years in college, and we know what you are. You've got your clear problems outlined. There's so much tape on you that like he's no there's no sexiness to it. There's no mystery. We know what you are.
Yeah, and I think that cases could be made because then you could look at some of the guys that came out of Wichita State. I mean, Landry Shamet was a guy who was a 3 or 4 year guy. He was 127, I think.
I thought he was like whatever. He was
he was a first rounder.
He was first round. I thought he was 20. I thought he was lower 20s, but yeah.
Maybe 24, 27, but I mean, he was around that range.
Yeah. I see Shamori as more of like a 2nd round. Like,
that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see him being like, if we're looking at last year, like a Shake Milton.
That's the thing. Yeah.
I look at Melton. Like,
I look at Shake as a good comp.
A guy that would be like
for
range,
round 2.
Yeah. I think Shake was a little bit bigger than Shamori, and that's the
I
biggest thing.
For like the range he's being picked at.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing with Shamori too is the size. So my number 1, that we all agree, but it is Ja Morant. I think that he does have major concerns about what he can be because having this many turnovers. I mean, we bashed James Harden for how many turnovers he had. I mean, you didn't go with his wet boy for him as a wet boy today because of his turnovers. But I think Ja Morant, if he's able to tighten it up a little bit, he's clearly the number 1 point guard just from what he's done so far. Lengthy.
He's a less athletic Dennis Smith Jr. in college. Like,
I think he's a little longer too, isn't he?
Dennis Smith had that explosive gear to him, where it was like the violent, like Russell Westbrook style. Like Ja Morant's got like the similar ability of like I can get you every single stat, I can do everything for you. It's just different level of competition.
Yeah, I obviously we'll see what he does against Auburn, but even then, that's only 1 game.
I know, and that's the thing.
We're not sure.
I gotta hope this team makes a tourney.
Yeah. It's a thing too. It's like if he balls out, then it's gonna.
Can you blame him for beating bad competition or not? top tier competition.
But even then, if he balls out against Auburn, that doesn't immediately mean he's going to be a success. So that's one thing too. I do kind of see him in some ways as like like so far what I've seen from Murray State, like a smaller like DeRozan in some ways. Kind of. I mean, not. Like,
but DeRozan lived in that mid range, and so does Ja. Has very comfortable in that mid range.
But and so far he's not a great 3-point shooter, and like again you're extending that line even when you get to college.
Yeah.
So then I put Ja, then I put Darius Garland. I'm not too worried about the injury because again talent is talent. I'm gonna go Nickeil Alexander-Walker at 3. I think that again I was sold on him last year. I think he's got the pedigree. He's got that scoring ability. He's got that two-way ability. Kevin Porter, I think he's more of a project because I don't think he's going to come in right away as a point guard. I don't think he's got a great shot. Like his form's not too great. It's kind of loose. It's kind of quick. It's not it's a quick release, which is good, but it's not really like form. It's much of a
smooth?
flick.
Yeah.
It looks like he's like. Every time he's shooting the ball, it kind of looks like he's trying to beat the buzzer. So I think that's the biggest problem with him. It's not something that is like dead on that I absolutely love. Then 5, I'll put Trey Jones, but I do think he can be a guy that if it is a playoff team, you might want to go with a Trey Jones over a Kevin Porter because he is going to help your team right away. And then I'll go with Shamori Pons at 6. So those are our top 6 point guards for the 2019 NBA draft. I think we probably just could have made it 5. And just left off Shamori since he was number 6 for all of us. But let us know what you think the best point guard is in the 2019 NBA draft pool so far. Obviously, there's going to be risers and fallers, and we'll be revisiting this topic a little bit more throughout the year. But let's move into the final topic. We are talking about the playoff-bound Phoenix Suns. Remember we did that after the first game? Yeah, severe overreaction. After that win against Dallas to start off the season, they went on a 7-game losing streak. And now so far, after 22 games, they'll have 4 wins. And right now they are at the bottom of the NBA, the leader in the clubhouse when it comes to highest chance for the number 1 pick. No one's really surprised.
John Travolta gif in here, like,
No one's really that surprised. I mean, obviously we had the topic, and I'm trying to poke fun at it, just because they had that great start, and obviously it has not, came to anything. I thought they were going to be a little bit better than 4-18 though.
Who knew you couldn't win games without a point guard in the NBA?
But I thought they were going to be a little bit. I thought after that first game, they didn't really show that they needed a point guard because everybody was passing well. So that was my thing of maybe you don't need a traditional point guard. Maybe you don't need that.
You can roll with Book.
They need it. So let's talk about which prospect's best fit for them. They might not be the number 1 pick. They might get Suns'd again, although they didn't get Suns this year with
lower odds than ever.
DeAndre Ayton. True, lower odds than ever. But let's talk about which prospects best fit them in the top 5 range. So obviously it's not for sure certain that they're going to be number 1 because they might win a couple more games. They might not win the lottery. So we'll break it up into number 1 pick. We'll break it into lottery or top 3, and then we'll break it up to top 5. Because I don't think. Does anyone think they're going to be picking lower than 5?
No.
All right. So we'll break it up that way. So Ricky, give me at least for top number 1 overall pick. If the Phoenix Suns have the number 1 overall pick, if Adam Silver is about to say, and with the number 1 overall pick, the Phoenix Suns select X, who is that X player?
Now, I'm going to give 2 answers.
No, give me one. No. You always do this. Give me one pick.
No. And the reason why is
Jesus Christ.
No matter who it is, the pick should be Zion.
Okay, then just say Zion.
But I don't think it's the best fit. The best fit is RJ.
No, give me who you would pick.
Who I would pick? RJ. But I don't think that should be the pick because
what does that mean?
It should Zion is the best player in this class. If you don't take him number 1, you're stupid. But the better fit might be RJ Barrett.
But if they were like, hey Ricky, we're firing James Jones right now. You're the Suns GM, and you do all this scouting, you do all this stuff.
I would personally take Zion.
Okay, you would go with Zion.
I would take Zion.
And why would you say Zion?
Because he's the best player in the draft. This pick is to me the easiest. You take the best player in the draft. Okay. And to me it's Zion.
And with Zion, how do you think he fits in with the Suns? Because if he is the best player, then it doesn't really matter about the fit, especially when you're picking number 1 overall. You're trying to go with talent. How do you think they would try to work him into that?
I put him at the 4, and I roll Devin Book at the point, TJ at the 2, Trevor Reeves and Mikal Bridges at the 3. Hopefully, Mikal Bridges maybe.
Reeves is on a 1-year deal, so
but Mikal Bridges. Hopefully, he's then good enough to be my starting 3.
I would
then Zion and Ayton,
T.J. Warren and
Bridges.
I'm just throwing out there.
Either or, that's a 5. However, the thing that I kind of think in my head is, do I really want Devin Booker being my point? And RJ might be the better player out of these Duke 3 to then put at the point where I would seriously have a discussion in my head, should we go RJ, to then have RJ, Devin Booker, TJ Warren, then it makes the 3 a little bit difficult between Anderson, Jackson, and Bender, and then Ayton at the 5, and then McHale can come off the bench and be the 6th man.
Mm-hmm. Dave, what do you think? If Suns are number 1 overall pick, who are you picking?
So the answer is Zion, for the obvious reason, and I'm going to be a dick here and say, Ricky, just to help your point, what happened in 1984's NBA draft? Did the Portland Trailblazers take best player available, or did they take fit? They took fit. Mm-hmm. Do you think they're a little unhappy that they ended up with Sam Bowie instead of Michael Jordan?
Well, yeah.
I just, you just don't think about fit. Take the best player available.
But that's
You're
why,
at the top of the draft.
The question of the topic is best fit. That's why I feel like the best fit is RJ.
Fit is the best player.
The best player is Zion.
The best fit's the best player.
Well, then why would you say Barrett's the best fit in your mind?
Because of what you said. You were talking about point guard, and to me, Zion's not a guy that's going to be when I look at the point guard for this team, they need a facilitator, a guy that's going to get TJ, Book, Ayton the ball. Zion's not going to do that. However, from what I've seen with this Duke team, it's either Cam or RJ, and RJ does it a little bit better than Cam Reddish does right now. And that's why I feel like it's a double-edged sword of I agree with Dave. I'm taking Zion because he's the best player. But if the question is better fit, RJ might be the better fit, although Zion's the better pick and the better player.
And again, this is why we were breaking it up, because we have top 1, top 3, top 5, because then when you get to top 3, top 5, then you could start worrying a little bit more about fit. But
these Duke players just make it so hard, though.
If you guys think that clearly, one player is that much better at that number 1 spot, Dave's making the fair point of you guys got to go with talent then.
Yeah.
And I think that if they are going number 1 overall, then you probably would go with Zion. And I know that obviously they have Ayton, but Ayton does like to play the 4 offensively. And Zion is a guy that might be able to again, I keep bringing up that Jokic position of just put him at the top of the key, have him distribute or have him drive. And I think that might be the best thing. And then that way Ayton can still post up. He can still play the baseline. He can still roam. And I think that he can even, with his ability to stretch as well, I mean, that might be able to make your offense flow a little bit better because, again, when it switches back over defensively, although he's not been good defensively, Ayton, you could just put him back at that 5 and try to keep him as a rim protector only. Or hell, if you do want to try to switch it up, I mean, Zion so far has shown himself to be a rim protector. I mean, that's how crazy dynamic this kid is. So again, with Zion, he is so dynamic that it really it goes beyond fit. Because we don't know how he's going to fit in the NBA, but we know he's going to be an NBA player.
Yeah.
So I think I would also go Zion for them. I keep saying this. I know last week we were talking about ranking them. RJ, Zion, and Cam, and I think I ended up putting RJ number 1. But I also said when it comes to a mock draft, and I'm it's the day of, and I'm picking. I think it's gonna be really tough to go away from picking Zion Williamson. So I would say Zion number 1. I kind of disagree with you, though, when it comes to RJ being the best fit, because although they do need a point guard, I don't know if that's really going to help them because then you're giving them 2 ball-dominant guys in Devin Booker and RJ Barrett. And I don't think that's going to be a massively successful duo. And then you also have to figure out Ayton. Why do you think RJ, outside of the ability of what he's showed so far, handling the ball for Duke, how do you think him and Devin Booker will play off?
I think of it a little bit much like, look at what we saw in Utah. Look at what we saw with Ricky Rubio and Don Mitch, where it was 2 guys who can be ball dominant. Don Mitch, a 2 that has point guard tendencies. Rubio's who's a point guard. And Coach Igor can get these guys to work much the same in his system like he got Donovan Mitchell and Ricky Rubio to fit.
What I would go with that is Booker thrives heavily off using the ball and scoring. And with Rubio can play off the ball, and he can at least last year he was a decent 3-point shooter. Don Mitch was a decent 3-point shooter last year. Where I look at RJ and Dev Book, although Dev Book's a great shooter, RJ's a fine shooter. I still think that they're going to be best in ISO play only, and I don't think they're going to be having that versatility of Rubio and Don Mitch. And that's why I don't know if they necessarily fit better. And then maybe you do look at Cam Reddish. And if Cam Reddish is the best fit, then maybe you trade out because someone maybe really wants Zion. So, Dave, what do you think about this whole best fit thing, at least with R.J. Barrett, Cam, Zion?
I don't think that there's one of those guys who absolutely fits perfect for this team because, like you said, like Cam is a wing. You are already stacked at the wing in your mind if you have any faith in the guys you've got in this roster today. If not, whatever. Like you can go with him. But RJ's ball handling plus Dev Book's ball handling, I agree. I don't like that. I don't like them on the court together being a great fit. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll be fantastic because you have two guys who can go, ISO whenever you need to. But like, I just would look to get, like you said, someone who can facilitate. So if you're unlucky as Phoenix and you get the 2 or the 3 and Zion gets taken with the 1, I would agree with you and absolutely look to trade back. I would look to go get that Darius Garland, that John Morant, someone else behind there who can do things for you and get more value because you get some value later. Like, look, you're a bad team. You've had a lot of draft picks near the top end of the draft in the last couple of years. Obviously hasn't panned out perfectly the way you're dreaming unless you're dreaming about another 4 win. Where you're at right now, you're at the bottom. So if you get unlucky, bounce yourself back to get one of the top point guards available, whoever it is at the end of this year, unless Devin Booker magically becomes a point guard of the future, like he could be. I mean, it doesn't seem likely. So I like the move of Zion or else. You go Zion. If it's not Zion, you bounce yourself back to a comfortable range to lock in yourself a point guard of the future.
Here is the one thing that I do ask, because the Suns are in a position where they do have a lot of youth right now, and obviously that youth has not been good.
Right.
Do you need to add another great, crazy prospect like a Zion, like an RJ, or like a Cam? Or if you are in this position and one of the teams below you might have a star that might want to get out, and they might be really itching for a Zion, would you entertain a trade offer? Or is it Zion no matter what just because of his ability to transcend the sport so far, what he's shown at Duke? Is that on the table at all in your mind to trade out of that number 1 spot and try to add someone who might be a little bit more of a veteran but might be able to add to that big 3 right away?
I would be weary. But I only look at, and I know it's a unique situation, but I look at the Jimmy Butler situation. We need a veteran. We need Jimmy Butler. Hey, let's trade a guy like Markkanen. Oh, wait, maybe we should have kept Markkanen. Like, this didn't work out. We gave away Levine. We give away Markkanen now.
And the real KD.
And it would depend on what the move was, but I would be thinking about that in the back of my head and going, do we want to make that same mistake that the T-Wolves made?
Here's like just an idea again. Don't worry
Toss
about
out a name.
Don't worry about money.
Sure.
But you look at who's currently 7th. Maybe they even move up, to 5. Would you do if Washington comes knocking? Our pick, the 5 for the number 1, and we throw on John Wall.
I would think about it, but only because it would depend on who is there. Because, and I'm looking at Tankathon's mock draft.
Yep.
I would think about it because then at 7 I can get maybe a Kevin Porter if I really like. I can get a John Morant if I really want to go point guard. I can get, maybe I like the defense of DeAndre Hunter at the 3 or the 3-4-2, wherever you want to put him, where it's like, I like that defense that he brings, so I want to get him, to where there's a little bit more prospects there that can help you, that you can get John Wall, get that. But it would all come down to, do you want to be the team that was, if Zion becomes what I think he's going to be, do you want to be that team that traded away Zion?
So, Dave, what do you think?
John Wall
that's the point I'm trying to make.
John Wall's a hard no.
Okay.
Hard no. No. If you got one, you're taking Zion unless like Steph Curry is on the table. Like, no, seriously, you guys can laugh, but like, we don't know what he's going to be, and we've only seen a handful of people with his physical gifts.
I'm laughing that the Warriors would trade Steph.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen, but that's what I'm saying is, if they came up and be like, you could have Russell Westbrook, and I'm like, yeah, go fuck yourself. I'm like, nah, I'm going to go with this guy. And like, Russell Westbrook's a guy who's 2 years in a row had a triple-double. But I'd go, why would I not want someone with one of the most unique physical skill sets that we've ever seen? Like, I just can't pass that up. And I'm probably overhyping him. I don't give a shit. Like,
I said he's going to be the best player in the league once LeBron
he
retires.
He's a goddamn Mack truck, but like, he has amazing footwork, and it just doesn't.
And tree trunks.
But also, then you also have to worry about the whole injury thing. I don't want to get too much into it, but again, like you could also, if you do have that luxury of being the number 1 overall pick, you could also take that and say maybe we can help our team win a championship more than getting the best player and possibly the best player in the league. Because if you do have that number 1 pick and somebody is that enamored with his Mack truck ability of being so fluid. Maybe they do give you the farm. Maybe this is something where they give you so many picks that you can, mortgage this and then take it, switch, and trade. I know it's a lot of...
Here's my point, is you've got Devin Booker under contract for 5 years. You've got Ayton on his rookie contract. This is year 1.
Bridges.
You've got Bridges, year 1. And if you think there's any value to him, Josh Jackson's still there. You got T.J. Warren for a couple of years. Like, I don't think there's any reason to pull the trigger on getting one of those veterans to stick in this team to try to compete because, Devin Booker, you want to keep him happy, yes, but $30 million should do that. That's my opinion. I think you go and screw the trades. You go in free agency and you just take a big dick swing at like Kemba Walker and be like, here's our money. You want to come play with Devin Booker, Zion Williamson, and DeAndre Ayton, and
are we gonna call that a BDS? A big dick swing?
Yeah, we can do that. Like, you go out and you make some big moves because Devin Booker talked about it. He's like, why can't a super team build around me? Like, why don't you guys want to come here? And I think that's a nice first step. They've got a head coach who needs to prove himself first off, but it's having that star that Devin Booker is, and knowing that he wants to bring that confidence, he wants to bring a reputation back to Phoenix. It's awesome because they're sick of being the fucking losers. No one likes it, but like he's come out publicly talking about like he wants to be successful, he wants to win games, he's sick of losing, and he wants to bring guys in around him. So I think this is the year where it's like, we set it up, and then let's see. If you get the number 1 pick, you walk away with Zion, huge smile on your face. Mission accomplished, boys. We got it. Go on free agency and unload. Just try to get the best of the best out there.
So let's go away from Zion then, because obviously we're in agreement. If you're number 1, you're going with Zion just because of his abilities.
Yeah.
And his kind of, just kind of a stardomness
Yep.
That he does have. And let's go to the top 3. If you're in that position where Zion's off the board, which is a better fit, Cam or RJ? Because that's most likely who's going to be, unless you think somebody else. Say you have Cam, you have RJ, everybody else on the board, you're picking number 2.
If you're Zion's 2 or 3, you're taking one of the 2 dookies that are remaining. I mean, I would almost flip a coin because to me it's like Cam Reddish and RJ, it's like we're going to split so many hairs trying to pick between the 2 of them. I personally, for the Suns, like RJ a little better, but I do get the argument of like Devin Booker's ball heavy, and we already talked about RJ being a volume shooter at Duke, to where maybe Cam Reddish. I would personally take RJ, but I would probably flip a coin between him and Cam and be happy with whatever the coin landed on.
And I know you brought up the fact that if you're at 2 or 3, then you possibly entertain the trade look. But
I absolutely would.
But if you're not trading that pick, who you liking?
I think I would take
not limited to Cam and RJ, but those typically are the people that people are thinking
I wouldn't.
Of.
Well, I am just gonna eliminate Bol. Like I just don't see him and Ayton fitting next to each other. Like it's too much of a liability. So I even look at Nasir Little as a guy who I like what he brings as a complete package. The potential is there for him, but I would still go Cam Reddish because I think that if you're all in, you believe he's going to be the dude that is going to be the guy who is going to exceed expectations in the NBA because his body, his game is built for the NBA and not built to be surrounded by 2 other studs in ball dominant positions, then he's the guy I would look at because I think you can go Dev Book at the 1, you can go Mikhail at the 2, Cam at the 3, TJ at the 4, 8 and 5, and it's just like it's plug and play, and that team comes out looking good as long as Booker continues to grow as a point guard.
I think we can't entirely write off Ellie as well, Ellie Okubo.
No.
Fully, because, I mean, he is very young.
Yeah.
But it's going to take a while for him to
we like
get
his
to a
offensive
point.
game, but, as far as working in the system, he's got a long way to go.
Yeah, it's going to take a while for him to be anything special if he ever reaches that point. The one guy I think we got to throw out there, though, and, obviously, we're talking about the 4, we're talking about the 3, especially if you're losing Trevor Ariza.
Yeah.
There is Sekou Demboya. I mean, this is a guy that people are touting that he might even be on the level of Luka when it comes to international prospects. People liked him near the top 3. Why
Dave
cross
don't
him
like
out,
him being
at least for
compared
the
to
top
Luka.
3?
You don't compare him to Luka.
Why's that? I'm not saying I am. I'm not saying I am, but why is he not like Luka for people who are informed?
So Luka had done more at his age than anyone in Europe has ever before. Mm-hmm. Just get a full stop there. He was the most successful youngest player in EuroLeague. Like, that's just in international play. He was it. His game was so polished going into the NBA that you can't compare it. Because, like, look, Sekou Demboy is a good player, a very good player. But by bringing up someone who is in the NBA right now, putting up like 26-4, like that's not an expectation you can put on Sekou. Mm-hmm. They're different players, they have different skill sets, and Sekou is going to be a very good player, but you can't. They're not even close. Like, that's. Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Come on, people.
I'm not saying
Okay.
these are my thoughts. I mean,
I think the thing you have to look to is like how good has he looked in his playing time so far, and what's his role over there? Because again, the expectation for Luka was he was on the best team in Europe, and he was their primary ball handler at times. Sekou, different role, different setup. So temper the expectations. He is not going to be I don't believe he's going to be a game changer upon entering the NBA. I think he's going to be a good player and someone who can contribute day one, but he's not going to take over a team. He's not going to change the way that franchise has a future built out.
Yeah, I just ask because he is in a league that has produced some players that have been, have been, very noticeable in the NBA. Mm-hmm. And he is a guy that, people have a lot of hype about because of his length, because of his versatility. Yeah. So just throwing that out there, because if they are looking for somebody that, isn't ball dominant and they can kind of mold him into something that they would like, maybe Sekou is a guy that they do attack. I think that you do not take him the top 3. I mean, you do look at Cam or RJ, because I think the one that best fits them would probably be Cam in my mind, just because he does have that versatility and it doesn't need to be ball dominant. And people kept bringing up in the whole Cam thing that we were saying, like, and we said we were being misinformed that why does somebody need to be a number 1 for them to be valuable? And Cam so far has shown that he doesn't need to be a number 1 to be valuable. And I think fitting into that, DeAndre Ayton, has shown his ability to take over games offensively in college before. Devin Booker obviously has done that so far. Yeah. So if you're looking for that another player to be another secondary piece and be a really great secondary piece, then maybe Cam is that right guy. And RJ has been, there's talks about him not meshing well with other stars. And if he's going up and playing next to Devin Booker, who's saying, I want to be the star on this team, then it's going to be tough for them to mesh well if RJ's coming out and be like, no, I'm the best player on this fucking team.
Unless they work out some sort of magical, veteran history of James Harden and Chris Paul working together as dueling point guards.
Or it'll just be good old 2 alphas, and John Wall and Bradley Beal. We saw how that turned out. So I think that would be the biggest thing. But let's take the Duke kids off the board, Zion off the board, Cam off the board, RJ off the board.
They truly get screwed.
They get screwed. They're in the top 4, top 5. The first one I did, they put Phoenix at 5. So it can totally happen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If the top 3 are off the board, who is the guy that you think they're looking for? Is it a point guard in Ja Morant? Is it a guy in Kevin Porter? Are they going to go with those freaky kids and a freaky kid in Sekou Demboya? Are they going to go with a Bol? What are your thoughts on who best fits the Phoenix Suns?
I'm thinking between 2. I'm thinking between Bol and Romeo Langford. And the reason being is, what do I want? Do I want guy down low, or do I want some help from my backcourt? And I kind of disagree with Dave, where I don't hate Bol for the Suns, or Bol. But Bol is going to be a project where he's not going to come in and be like automatically like, here you go. You're going to have to work with him. You're going to have to work on a shot. But the thing I do like with that is you can stick him at the 5, Ayton at the 4. I might lean towards a Romeo Langford, though, although when it comes to him, turnovers are a little bit of a thing, and he's also a guy that's he's also a guy that's a little bit of ball dominant as well, and doesn't have the assist numbers yet that like you get with a Cam Reddish or an RJ Barrett.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's also easier to rack up those assists when you're playing with the top 3 guys.
Yeah,
but you're right. You're 100% right.
Romeo's crying
when it comes to that. Yeah, I was way too high on Romeo, and so far. There's questions on maybe, I know obviously it's tough to say, like, if you're a top 10 pick, you have top 10 potential, maybe you should go back, but
Well, like
I think he's got a lot to work on.
You said about Trey Jones, where he wasn't in the mock draft for ESPN.
Yeah.
I saw an article today. I don't know if I sent it to you guys in the text group, but it was like, is Romeo Langford no longer a first-round pick? And I'm like, get out of here. Yeah, he's a first-round pick. Like,
I don't.
He might not be.
He's out of my consideration for top 5. At least. I haven't seen.
No, but this was out of the first round.
Yeah, that's
like, out of the first
insane to say.
round in general, which is crazy. But I mean, if I'm sitting there 4, 5, 6, I think about it. Especially right now, I think about it, and I would probably pick between Ball and Romeo Langford would be who I think about.
Dave, before you give me your answer,
Yep.
there was an eye roll.
Yeah.
What were you rolling your eyes when it comes to what Ricky said with Ball?
Bol is not.
Ball.
I know. Tongue tied. Bol is his shot's ready. Like, he's got one of the best soft touches for a big in college basketball. I don't know that they have to work too much on that. I think Sean and I were agreeing on the fact that the only thing that he can do to improve that is speed up the motion, especially on the threes. He does have a long drawback. I think that he is NBA ready from an offensive standpoint. My concern is defensively. He can close out, but he cannot keep up in the low post because of his body size. Like, he is long. He is not quite strong core-wise. So, like, I think that would be my concern, trying to pair him and Ayton up. Ayton, who has the body to be a dominant center, but doesn't have either the defensive IQ or the tendencies or maybe just the presence on the court. He hasn't shown it yet. So I would be concerned about pairing those two guys up. It could be, one of the most dominant 4-5s if you could get them to work together, but that concern leads me to walk away from him. I look back at Nasir Little. Like I said, he's a guy who I think throughout the year can work his way up into that conversation with the Cam Reddish and RJ Barrett area. Like, he has, for me, crazy potential at the next level. He's a guy who I think will shine much more in the NBA, but due to his limited role right now, I'm gonna just hold my breath on that. I'm going back, and I'm going to I don't want to Ja Morant. Like, I broke out because I would still take Garland first. Like, that's my thing, is I would still go Garland first.
But you can't take someone with injuries when you're the Suns.
You know what? Fuck, I would. I strike that. I'll take Garland over Ja Morant if I'm the Suns. The potential for having him, because Devin Booker stretches the floor out fantastically. You've got Bridges, who is going to be a 38 to 40+% 3-point shooter. You got Warren, who freaking figured out how to shoot a 3 and is now one of the probably quietest players who's putting up almost 20 a game in the NBA. They've got good spacing. And again, like you said, Ayton can play out from the elbow. He's very comfortable with that distance. So give me someone who can cut to the hoop, create defenses just coming down on him, like pulling defenders, and being able to pass out of that under the hoop in the paint, being able to distribute out from that area. You get someone like him with his elite finishing skills, his passing ability. Like, I just think that he is someone who would absolutely make an impact for them if healthy at the combine.
And here's the thing too with Nasir Little, that I think in watching his game, looking at his tendencies, looking at his frame and build, I think there's too much crossover between him and young TJ Warren, where TJ was so limited when it came to his ability to shoot from the outside that
that's fair.
Then you're getting that crossover of, TJ Warren just took this next step, and now we just have TJ Warren again off the bench. TJ Warren was a very useful 6-man, but I don't think that's the edge. If you talk so much about point guard, you have to take a shot. It's either Ja or it's either Darius Langford.
If Garland, Langford?
What I said? It is 95 degrees in here. So if I said
my brain's melting,
I might have said the wrong name multiple times. Are we even recording? I don't know. I might be having a fever dream. I might be at home right now. I'm past.
If Garland's not healthy come combine, you take Ja Morant and you feel good about it.
I think even if he's healthy, I think there is the question between them then, because I think that with Morant, then you also, I think you have the ability to, with Garland, I just think with Morant there's more playmaking ability, and maybe that's just because he has so much usage. But
no, he truly is a better passer.
I think that's going to be the biggest thing for them is you need ball movement in this offense. And I think that's going to be what it comes down to. And Morant, although he might not be as good as a scorer, he might not be as good as a shooter, I just like his ability to fit into an offense where it is all about speed. It is all about movement.
Yeah.
Garland's fast as fuck.
Yeah.
So I don't want to put that past him. But I think that when it comes to talent, Garland might be more talented. But I think Morant, at least in that system, might be the better fit, especially next to Booker and next to Ayton, because also he's very long. And if you're adding that length with DeAndre Ayton, I think I would really like that pick and roll situation. So I would probably go with Morant. Final guys that you like for them. Maybe they do end up trading somebody and getting another pick. Maybe they just start balling out a little bit more and they fall out of the top 5. Any guys that we didn't mention that you do like, and we'll wrap it up with that.
One guy that I will like, and this is only if he falls to their 31st pick, Charles Bassey, the center out of West Kentucky. Like, I know this is one that wouldn't be for their first round pick because I don't think they're going to win enough games to be the 16th pick in the draft. But, like, I look at him, and if he falls kind of like Robert Williams did last year, and he falls to that 31,
the big snooze,
he could be one that they take to kind of fit. All right, he'll be grown into that 5 spot, and then we can play Ayton at the 4, like you said, where Ayton wants to play.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be interesting. Yeah. I think if they're able to string together some wins, we talked about him earlier. Kevin Porter is the guy that I would probably go to if they're in that 5 to 10 range. Like, Kevin Porter Jr. is probably my guy. Like, I love his skill set and bringing up the Harden comp, and obviously like his step back is absolutely modeled after that. I see a lot to like there, and we mentioned, multiple guards working in the system, and right now he's carrying the load. I feel like ball in hand more than he needs to, but I think I would go to him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think the one guy you also have to throw out there too, if they do get a later pick, Daniel Gafford. If we're talking about the low end of Ayton's defensive IQ, you have a guy that can rim protect at least.
Gafford, a guy who made the interesting decision to go back, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was at
Arkansas.
Wasn't he in? He was about 20 to 30 range.
He was
he was a lottery guy.
I think he was a lottery for some of us.
He was just out in the average. Was just out of the lottery.
Okay, yeah, I know he was He was a middling guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but then try to target like a Trey Jones if he's available with your late first one.
But then again, that just feels exactly what you did with Ellie. Because you took him at like what 131 or was it 2?
Mm-hmm.
But Ellie,
I think it was 2.
Ellie was someone who surged at the end of the year. Like he was like, oh, guess what? I'm gonna have a fuck you like 41 game.
Yeah.
And like his offensive skill set just looked so good. But again, now we're back to reality where he's playing agast NBA talent.
Reality.
Now I'm trying to find Gafford where we put him. Last one where we had Gafford, 5 we did not have him. The live lotto we did not have him. 4 did we have him? Daniel Gafford. No. We'll go to 3.0. Gafford. 18 I had him at. Ricky had him at 17. And Dave, you did not put him anywhere. So congrats, you called it. Congratulations, you called it. Daniel Gafford was not going to be an NBA player this year. So, but we had him around 16, 17, 18. It was a typical range for him. So let us know who you think is the best fits for the Phoenix Suns. Shout out to Z, since we're talking about his team, our boys Zion.
Love to hear his comments.
So yeah, if you guys have any comments, let us know down in the comments below. But that's going to do it for the hottest fast break in NBA history. I am so fucking hot. About to pass out. I'm surprised I don't have showing pit stains on this.
You're rocking a good hoodie.
That's why I wear black.
Oh, and I am not wearing an undershirt under this hoodie.
Oh, really?
So ballsy move in the hottest room I've ever been in.
Just keep those arms down, Sean.
But final things, if you want to get one of Dave's shirts, Dave showed off, head over to mostvaluablepodcast.com. And if you haven't already, I asked you earlier on in the podcast, but if you stuck around this long, means you liked it. It means you liked the hour and a half you're listening to. So please give us a rating of 5 stars on iTunes. It's extremely quick, and if you have listened, obviously there's either something wrong with you or you really liked our podcast, or maybe both. So take your time and do it. It's super quick and easy. We would absolutely love and appreciate it if you did. And if you do, take a screenshot. I'll retweet you at Most Valuable Pod on Twitter. We'll give you some love over there. So that's going to do it, though, for the Fast Break Podcast. For Ricky Widmer, who's not even paying attention, to Dave Oster, who's zoning out, I am Sean Anderson, who's about to have a heat stroke. We'll see you, hopefully, next week.